disappear, taken by your mighty flame. The enemy dread and fear when I invoke your name. You sought the mouth of lions, set Paul and Silas free. As David beat Goliath, you always win for me.
Good morning. Good morning, brothers and sisters. I'm honored to have you all here. My venerable lords and ladies. It's good to have you. Good to have you. And, the mighty forged by grace, battle brother. Welcome to the Heavenly Legion. I'm honored by your marvelous stream.
Good morning.
Yep, there's my battle son, the eldest of my children, and the heir to my throne. You get your breakfast?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, join me in following Forged by Grace, if you guys haven't checked out his stream at all. He is according to his profile, he is also a Marine Corps veteran, just like us. Marvelous brother. He's redeemed by Jesus, and he does prayers and worship and for his honest faith, which is glorious. He's a noble lord in the Legion, I'll tell you that right now. So make sure you go check him out, go give him a follow. We'll be checking him out for sure. So bless him with the same marvelous fellowship that he has shown us. But it's good to see you. Let's see. He said, Christian from Mr. and the Mrs. Told me a while back to give you a follow. Oh, well, I'll have to tell him thank you for his kind mention. I'm unworthy, but I'm glad to have you guys here. What were you guys doing on your stream this morning? I don't know if it's did you get started really early, or what was going on? Are you from across the pond?
No.
But either way, thank you so much. All of you joining him for the raid, please settle in, get comfortable. If I will try to be do as great a job as he, I'm sure, did for y'all. But we are reading and finishing the book of Prince Caspian today. So we've been reading through the Chronicles of Narnia, the entire series. So far, we've read through the first 3 books. So, The Magician's Nephew, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and The Horse and His Boy. And then now we've been working through the book of Prince Caspian, which we're almost done. I think we've only got like 4 chapters left. And we'll be done with it today, I'm pretty sure. So that's what we're doing today. This evening, if you guys have not seen... Where are we at? This evening we're actually playing V Rising with the Giggle Gang and a few others here and there. So make sure you check that out. But before we continue on, let me go ahead and say congratulations to Baines. Well done, brother. You have claimed first. That honor is yours. Caffeinated Squirrel, she has claimed second. Awesome work, Battle Sister. And then we have Thunderbird Nix, who's claimed both third and the second fourth. And Forged by Grace, our new brother, has claimed fourth and beyond. And then also Tiny Taffy. So it's good to see you all in. That's amazing. You guys are glorious. I gotta make sure to get those who deserve shout-outs. And I believe the bot got you, Forged. Isn't that correct? I believe it did. Yes, it did. Glorious. There was this dude in my platoon from Marine Corps boot camp named Recruit Rico. When I first saw your name, it made me think of him. When did you go to boot camp, Forged? When did you go to boot camp? I was in 2005 in October. So maybe it was me. You never know. I stream Monday through Thursday, 6:30 a.m. Central Time. Okay. Central Time. We start with worship. I lead worship on drums for about an hour or so. Then we hop into the Word. We just started 1 Samuel today. Samuel. Can you imagine being Samuel, and then you're born basically to the church, and then, God's first word to you is like, things are about to go down, brother. It's gonna be quite terrible. The head priest is gonna die along with his sons. But I'll be here. Good luck. It's like, oh. All right. And then you appoint the first king. Ugh. Well, I guess technically the first and second king, because he did both. But it's good to have you, my lord. I'm honored. Yes. Nix, good morning. Tiny Taffy, we all love us some Rico. You're too kind to me. You're too nice to me, Tiny Taffy. How are you doing, by the way? Guys, Tiny Taffy also streams. I'll give her a shout out as well. She just re-debuted her new model, and it's a darling thing. You can tell she put a lot of work into it. She was reminiscing on the days of yore and yesteryear when she had her previous model, which was like 7 days ago. But it was really funny. It's a great stream. You should go check her out. Go give her a follow as well. But yes. My children will be joining us in here as per usual. to listen to the rest of the story.
Known as Crystal Queen
Yes.
and the Gabiest Gabe.
Yes, my daughter, as she calls herself, the Crystal Queen. That's what she's decided her streamer name is gonna be. It's Crystal Queen. That's great. It's a good one. What's gonna be yours, son? The Gabiest Gabe. Ah, like father, like son. Well chosen. Well chosen, my son. Excellent work as
Crystal
usual.
Princess, actually.
The Crystal Princess. So, okay, yeah, because if you were a queen, that would imply that I have been usurped as king of the household. How dare. How absolute dare. Disgusting, baby. Oh, and the battle baby. Are you crawling to me? Are you crawling to me? Come here. Yeah. Oh. And there he is. And there he is. We've got the battle baby here too. Working, or lurk as I am listening and working. All right, Tiny Taffy, you have yourself a great morning. Thanks for the lurk. But look at you. Yeah, you have no idea what I'm talking about. He just recently started crawling, so he's kind of, the boy is all over the place. All over the place. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Like he's one of the busiest babies I've ever seen. Like he started doing the weeble wobble thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. He started doing the weeble wobble thing, and then he just took off one morning. Just started running all over the place, or crawling, trying to get my glasses. No. Is it yours? Are you gonna take it? Yeah. Little baby. Okay. You're gonna crawl? Are you gonna crawl away, my son? Is that what you're gonna do? Oh no, you got the glasses, huh? It's okay. He's got. You got the glasses. You gonna take those? And they're not actual prescription glasses. I have my wife got me a set of those like blue light blocking glasses because she's always concerned about my health. Yeah, and that's supposed to be, blue light. Blue light's not supposed to be good for you. I thought it was built into the helmet, but apparently not. Hate to raid and run, but I have to get ready to go to therapy for VA shortly. All right, I understand that. Been there myself. I will try to catch your stream soon, sir. Thank you for your service. You as well, Forge. Again, thank you for the raid. Thank you for the blessing of your marvelous community. And you have yourself a good morning. And I hope your VA appointment goes as planned. And if you are seeking disability benefits, I pray that those go all through for you and that you are blessed until your cup runneth over. But again, thank you for being here, buddy. I appreciate it. Again, please check out Forged by Grace and Tiny Taffy. Go bless them both. Go bless them both. That's amazing. I am 100%. Nice. Nice. Me too. Me too. You just gotta laugh it off at this point. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, well, that's cool. That's fine. It's all good. Oh, and Forged earlier said he joined in 2009. Okay. All right. So yeah, it wouldn't have been me in boot camp. I'm ahead of you. I was ahead of you in there. That's all good. Oh my goodness. So if you guys want, what have you guys been up to this week? Everyone been all right? No, I actually watched, just as a conversation starter here, I think Asmongold, I know he was banned for, not exactly family-friendly statements, but for a pretty innocuous thing that I really don't get. I saw that. But I had actually just seen him talking about, it was funny, I don't know how many of you are male VTubers or VTubers in general. Technically, I guess I'm considered a VTuber, but I don't have like a big fancy model. I drew this all myself. It's a character. It's armor. You know what I mean? Like I don't have an actual, or do I? Not immersion break. No. Oh, I do have an actual set of power armor, but it was interesting. So I watched his video, and then there was Banana Juju went and talked about it. As well, and of course her statements, they're not family friendly. It's a little a little more of an adult conversation. You know what I mean? Omega, good to see you, brother. How are you? How are you this morning? I'm glad to have you here. I truly am glad to have you here. Hope you're doing well. And also, hello, YouTube, if anybody's over there. It's good to see you guys this morning as well. Which, if you guys want to check out the YouTube, you totally can. We are streaming to the Rico Gaming one. That's where all my streams kind of go to. But these VODs will eventually be edited up and then put on the other one. Because that's where we do like audio readings and things like that. So check that out. But anyway, I view it as a blessing and an opportunity to use my time to serve others, serve God, share my story, etc., rather than to work for worldly validation, if that makes sense. It does. It does absolutely, Forged. I completely understand that. And same. No, I get it. Internet clout, glory, all that kind of stuff. It all doesn't matter. It's all about being a good and just servant to the Lord. But anyway, so I had watched the video about. No, I can't post it to chat, but we can probably post something to the Discord later. But we're gonna read.
Yeah, that's all right.
She's dressed up as who are you dressed up as? Queen Susan. Okay, Queen Susan, the ill-fated one of the bunch, which we'll see later. But so I watched the video about Asmongold talking about male YouTubers, and basically what he was saying. I mean, if you watch it, I don't know. I don't really disagree with what he said. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of. He was like, he stated he thinks that VTubing itself is a predominantly female thing, which I'm like, I can see that because, the whole VTube persona thing, it's for the aesthetics, you know what I mean? Which I can understand. It appeals to a certain, a certain appetite, we'll say, for people who do that. And so he's saying that the male VTubers who are trying to pursue the same, we'll say, branch of VTubing, the main VTubing thing, which is where, it's the physical appeal. It's like, it's like the anime girls, basically. It's anime girls that are streaming, and then you have males who are trying to do the same thing. It doesn't really work. Like, nobody cares for that. Now, that's not what we do as streamers. Like, as a male streamer myself, obviously I'm not going down that line of streaming. You know what I mean? I'm a space marine. And for me it's more anonymity, so you guys, don't have to suffer through seeing my face. And then, but it's also like I have children. I don't use a cam because, as you've well already heard, they just kind of bust in here, and I don't need their faces to be all over the internet. You know what I mean? So that's what it is for me. Yes, dear. Huh? Okay. All right. I'm visiting family in Texas, and my brother showed me this thing on Google certificate courses that are valid for the hiring process for wherever you apply online. Hope this info may be of help in your job hunting. Okay. What is it? And you don't have to. Baines, my lord, good morning. We'll talk about it later. That's okay. But yeah, I don't know how you guys really feel about that kind of thing, but here, honey, I'll call you in when it's time to. They're chatty. They just want to talk for a second. But welcome in. Hope you guys are well. But yeah, I posted it on X, the whole like Banana Juju's take on it. Which again, watch it. Don't just assume by the title of what she's saying. But I do understand the whole discourse about, and from what they're saying, I really don't disagree. the only part I kind of disagree about is I think Asmund Gold stated he was like all the ugly chicks is what he stated. This is his words. He said all the ugly chicks are VTubers. None of them, like every single one. He was like none of them are like a camera streamer. And I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Like, I do think that there are a lot of people who might have lower self-esteem or lack confidence. And there's a lot of people who, just like myself, prefer privacy. You know what I mean? They prefer the privacy of having a model that is up there on screen that you guys can interact with instead of, your actual face. So, can't say I agree with that 100%. But I do understand the sentiment. That being said, it's like, oh, are we talking about Asmongold's hot take? Well, about like the male VTuber thing. And then I had watched Banana Juju's take on what he said. And again, I don't disagree, really. You know what I mean? Except for that one kind of point he made where it's like, he basically said that VTubing is for ugly people, which it was like, okay, I understand what you mean. But I think it's less that, oh, if you're a VTuber, you must be hideous. Which I know that's not the case when it comes to a lot of people. There's a lot of streamers that I know who are not even close. They're very appealing looking people. You know what I mean? They just prefer either the anonymity or maybe they just lack the confidence to be on stream. Because I do get the idea of it's like, oh, well, if they were attractive and they knew it and they had the confidence, then of course they would use a camera. It's like, but that's not really true. That's not really true. Because, I mean, like, in my case here, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a space, a fit, like, not to break the immersion, but I don't actually have a suit of power armor sitting right here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a suit of power armor that I can wear on stream. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. Maybe one day when I get a 3D printer, we'll talk about it. But, it's like, I don't have that. This gives me the opportunity to not only showcase my pen work, you know what I mean? Like, I drew this character, I made him. I think it looks cool, and hopefully the aesthetic is fun for you guys. It's pretty neat. The idea is that you are streaming and hanging out with a space marine, a Christian space marine in the world of, the far-flung future. And it's like, that's fun. That's fun. The rest of it, though, like when it comes to a lot of the female streamers, not all of them, but a lot of the VTuber aesthetic, it's predominantly female, and that's basically what he was getting at. And it's predominantly female because they're appealing to a certain thing. So I get it. I agree for the most part on what they're saying. There's just some minor things in there that I'm like, yeah, no, not all that. But now I do agree completely that there are the male VTuber equivalents of the majority of the female streamers. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the female VTubers tend to have the more, what's it called? Physically alluring attributes. We'll just put it that way. You know what I mean? Like, their model was specifically designed for that purpose. Clearly, right? There's male equivalents who do the same, and that, I think, is it sounds like what he's specifically referring to as those guys. It's like, they're kind of pointless because most people who are watching stream don't care for that kind of thing from a dude. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it's like it. So that's where it seems like, okay, you guys can. But I mean, I don't mess with that. So that's not really my realm. I don't think personally I fall into the VTuber category that they're talking about. I'm kind of a weird goat here. Like, I I don't really do any of that. I mean, let alone the fact that I'm more of a PNG tuber at the moment. And, I draw all my own stuff. That's really it. I don't do all the rest of that stuff. But yeah, also maybe as you said, privacy. In your case, you have yourself and your family passing your streams. It's not all black and white. I agree, Baines. 100%. And that's what I mean. Like privacy. Some people just don't want their face out there. You know what I mean? Some people like playing a character, kind of like acting. You know what I mean? They enjoy that aspect. And they don't need, like there's a lot of voice actors out there who's nobody knows what they look like. They don't have a face to the career that people can find. You know what I mean? They might have a really well-known voice, but nobody knows what they actually look like. They prefer the voice acting career because it's not in front of a camera. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where it's like, yeah, I get it. So I understand the take. I understand what they're talking about. I can't say I wholeheartedly disagree with them at all. But it was just interesting to talk about. I just figured we'd talk about that because I saw it. I saw it yesterday and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting for sure. But I hope you guys are prepared this morning. So we are going to read, and we are likely going to finish Prince Caspian today. I do have to say, of the Narnia books, I think that Prince Caspian is probably the least exciting, the least interesting for me. I love this book. It's great. Like I like all the stories. They're all really good. But I don't know. This one just isn't as exciting to me. It's an interesting story, but there's just not as much excitement in this one as all the other ones. I know that the last battle is my least favorite. They're all my favorite, but last battle is the least favorite, but not because it's not interesting. It's more interesting to me than Prince Caspian is. It's just the stuff that happens in the story really angers me. It makes me mad. I'm more mad at the story than I am in Prince Caspian at all. I totally understand I can't bring myself to give a presentation in class, but I'm always up for giving a puppet show for the youth. Yeah, exactly, Omega, exactly. When it comes to all that, it's like, I get it. I mean, and I'm not introverted. You know what I mean? I'm very extroverted. I was a cam streamer for the first few years I started streaming. I did use a camera, had a green screen and everything, so you guys could see, and it was fine. It was when my children were very little, so the risk of them like jumping in front of the screen and being like, "Papa," was next to nothing. Like that wasn't going to be a thing. Now it is. They're older. We have a newborn and everything, but it's just, it's kind of the same reason why I'm hesitant to go to Reach. You know what I mean? Not because I don't want to meet any of you or, meet my fellow streamers, which is all it would really be. But it's just that my children and my wife would definitely come with me. Or at least one, at least my wife, and it's a safety thing. Like, I wouldn't want to put them in a situation that causes danger for them. So, and there's been some questionable things that have happened. At Reach and, TwitchCon and things like that. So, I get it, is all I'm saying. It is an interesting topic. I fin-fished with this before the whole PNG VTuber thing you did have people that was just a voice and then their gamer scene did the entertainment. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of streamers out there too, and I think they had even mentioned this in their talk on there, stating that if you're not attractive or you don't want your face on stream, then you just don't use a camera. You just don't stream with anything on there. There's plenty of big streamers who do that, and it was like, yeah, I get it. And again, I don't disagree with that. It's just nice to have that face-to-face interaction, so to speak. But really, my thing that I've got going on here, I mean, it's really it's not much better than not using a camera at all. Like, I'm wearing a helmet. There are no facial expressions. It's just, maybe one day if I was able to get, like, the full thing rigged and modeled and stuff like that, I could make it more expressive. But, I mean, you're not going to see my face. I could have it one day where there is, like, a face under the helmet. That wouldn't be bad. But, again, it's not for that same appeal. It's not for that same idea or content, I guess we'll put it that way. You know what I'm saying? It's not how I do. So, it's kind of where I'm at. I don't know. Who knows? But Jones, congratulations on a 25 stream streak. That is glorious, brother. I'm honored. It's good to see you this morning. There's a VTuber called Leaflet. Yeah, I know Leaflet. On Twitch that has a meet and greet at one of these cons, but only on screen, and even then, they had to beef up the security. Well, right. I mean, especially the more popular you are, there's going to be somebody crazy out there. I'm nowhere near that. I will likely never be anywhere near that. So that's not anything to worry about for me. But, I don't know. To me, going to those things would be to actually meet some people. You know what I mean? Like some of my friends that are here that I battle with all the time, and other streamers and things like that. And even some very dear fans who'd really like to just say hi, and that's great. But I have a wife and children, and so it's like their safety comes first. So I think it's fine, honestly. And I totally understand Leaflet doing that. I totally understand anybody doing that, especially if you're a VTuber. It would, it makes you think, though. You see, like, all these animatronics and stuff that are out there. Like, you go to, like, Disney or something, and you see, like, all these wild animatronics with, like, the digital faces and all that kind of stuff. Imagine soon you'll probably go to, like, Reach or Twitch or something, and they will have one of these animatronics that they control, kind of like a VTuber, but it's like dressed as they are with their VTuber face, and so you get to meet the VTuber, but it's an animatronic controlled by the actual player. That I could see that happening in the near future. Yes, look at you.
I made a makeshift Twitter.
Sweet, that would be something. We'll see red eyes when Rico's angry and blue when he gets jump scared. Yeah, there could be. Gosh, I mean, there's really a lot of cool things I could do and I want to do. Like, I mean, just as an idea, I know we're not really reading right now. We're just chatting. I've thought about having, like, redeems on the channel where it's like, you redeem a bolter shot. And, like, a bolter or a las shot, like, ricochets off the armor and, like, damages it or something. And then you can redeem repair and, servitors would come out and like remove the damaged pieces of the armor and then replace them with freshly cleaned and prepped pieces or things like that. Like that's what I would like to make it more interactive for you guys. Like that would be pretty cool. But that takes an egregious amount of money and skill of which I do not have. So I can draw up the things, which I'm very, very, very slowly working on because I have to draw it up myself. Which is fine. But I have no idea how to rig, guys. I have no idea. I tried looking into it, and it's not a skill set that's in my wheelhouse. And I don't have time to learn it. So I'm like, well, maybe one day. If Twitch or, making this kind of stuff ever took off, and you guys were, you guys wanted me to keep doing this often and more as my job instead of, if it paid, kept my wife and kids fed and the lights on, then I would probably be able to invest, more time and money into that. But for now, I'm little by little, I'll make little improvements and do this and, it'll be cool. Like one of the other things I wanted to do was if I died in a game, that I would, the character here would fall over, or you'd get like more beat up as like the health bar if you could like attach it some way to that. And then if I did die, I would come back as like a dreadnought. I've been interred in a dreadnought. Oh Lord, that would be really cool. I would love that. Elaine, good to see you, my dear battle sister. How are you today? I hope you're well. It's good to see you. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's the kind of stuff I've been mulling over in my head on improving things around here. You know what I mean? Like, we're working on the new start screen. We're working on this, working on that. It just takes me a while. I'm a terribly slow artiste. I guess because I'm my only client, and I will only ever be my only client. That's just the case. And so I don't know. I just don't feel as rushed. You could just wear a full disguise, like with a prosthetic nose and everything. Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny. I mean, I have thought about it. I would, if I did go to Reach or something, you know what I mean? I would probably go where I had the helmet, at least just the helmet 3D printed. So I would wear that around, you know what I mean? And then have one of those kind of like mask things underneath it. But I just don't know how terribly hot that would be walking around all day. That would be fun. Cosplay at Reach for the win. Yeah, I would. If I could get away with it, I would absolutely wear the full armor. But it would have to be like really cool. Mission Impossible featuring Rico. Yeah, I would. Yeah. Who knows? Just right now, it's not likely. Like, if anything, the Reach here in November, I will most likely be Reach adjacent, and it'll just be for meeting some of the Giggle Gang or friends that are down here for Reach, and I won't actually attend. So that'd probably be that. Which is fine. I mean, I don't think anybody find that too much of a loss. It'll be okay. Just stay inside. AC for the... Yeah, exactly, Elaine. But, who knows? It'd certainly be hot, but it might be worth it. I mean, I'm already living down here, so it'd be fine. Just create strategic vent spots and install fans. So I totally would. I designed and 3D printed a Mandalorian helmet way back in the day during COVID. It was actually kind of funny. They had what's it called? The mask mandate, and they were demanding everybody to wear masks. And so I had access to a 3D printer at that time, so I printed a full-scale Mandalorian helmet, had like a visor and everything. Because I was like, look, if you're going to make me wear this stupid face mask that says face shield on it like a big old dork, like, I'm going to at least look cool. And so I refused to get the vax, didn't do that. And so I had to wear a mask. So I 3D printed this helmet, and I wore that to work. That's what I did. It was great. I still laugh about it. I still have it. It's right. Well, you guys can't see that, but it's right behind me.
Where is it?
It'd certainly be hot. Just create strategic vent points and fans. I love that so much, and no one complained. No, actually, it was really. They demanded it. I skirted the rules. It was just like, but actually, some of the customers we had were actually pretty impressed. Like, oh, you guys made that? It got them business. Okay, my defiance got them business, and so it was pretty funny though. Like, I used to have to give what's it called? Reviews and stuff like that for the other engineers. And so I would be wearing this Mandalorian helmet, and I'm like, I am most displeased with your apparent lack of progress, and just like slowly turned to look at them. It was all in good fun. I wasn't actually intimidating them, but we had a good laugh about it. It was funny.
Daddy, look at me.
I would meet customers wearing that. It was great. I would have done that, but I have glasses, and it would be hot. So the funny part is, you could design it, Caffeinated Squirrel, to fit your glasses. You know what I mean? It's all about putting it in there. I had seen some versions where people had actually had a slot inside around the neck where you could install like one of those neck fans. You know what I mean? So it would, the only problem is that it's a helmet. So if the fan is really even like remotely noise producing. It's just going to fill the whole of your helmet. And you're not going to be able to hear anybody. So you kind of need the fan to be out, but blowing air upwards into it. But you know, that's a thing I could work out. It would, you know, I'm sure we'd figure it out. Probably the best feeling when defiance blesses. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's that last job though was not fun. It was one of the more stressful jobs I think I've ever had, and I've been shot at. You know what I mean? Like it was not a good environment. I mean, I could talk some major junk about it, but the fact of the matter is, it was just very money-oriented, specifically for salesmen. No, but they did not care about people who were actually producing the things that made them the money. Like they were just a means to an end, and they made sure you knew that. They made sure you felt that. There was no camaraderie. And they would say things like, oh, you know, we're a family, or we're all in this together and you'll rise together. But then every single thing they did was just super mean. It was just super mean. It just wasn't. It was no encouragement, no up, you know. And it's not like you needed like a trophy or to say, oh, thank you every time you did your job. But when all you ever hear was like really negative things, you know what I mean? But then they saddle you with more responsibility. It was a bad environment. I wouldn't go back if I knew the way. The second a job calls me family, I start packing my bags. I mean, that's the lesson I've learned, Captain. Scroll on with you. Honestly, it will be difficult for me. Like, I'm a very loyal person. You know what I mean? Like, my love and loyalty run very, very deep. And I don't think I can muster that for any company ever again. You know what I mean? Like, ever again. So, I don't know what instilled that in me, but I can't do that for a company ever again. So, it's just, bye. Like, no. I know I mean nothing to them, and more, and even worse so, it's like my wife and my children mean even less to them. Like, you know, being let go for political quibbling or whatever you want to, you know, whatever happened to you that was just completely pathetic on their end. It's not... That part doesn't irk me so much, more than the fact that it was like they didn't just cast me aside, they cast my wife and my children aside. You know what I mean? My newborn child. Like, that's where it was like, you guys are slimy little monsters, man. Like, ew, gross. Like, get away from me. You know, it was a weird experience. But lesson learned. You know what I mean? Lesson learned. And then, you know, if I ever ran into any of them out in the open, it's not like I would fight them or something. It's just that I would rather not deal with them. It'd be one of those things where I was like, I'm just going to go the other way. Like, you know, I'll pray for you, but no thanks. Funny enough, my job did pull the family card, but it's not that bad. Seems like that's most places. Well, they try to make it seem like, you know, it's like they push all this stuff on you where it's like, oh, you have to be so loyal to the company. You got to give us 2 weeks if you're going to leave. Yeah. You got to do this. You got to, you know, it's bad etiquette if you don't push extra hours and do all this other stuff. But then, like, they demand that they want you to bend over backwards, like to jump through fiery hoops, do all this other stuff. And they absolutely will not reciprocate that. They will not reward your loyalty and your hard work. You know, they pay you. So your work is paid. That is the thank you that you are given, you know, to do the job. But anything beyond, like going above and beyond and demanding that and expecting more responsibilities to be handled than you were hired for, that's the kind of stuff where they're like, oh, they expect you to do all that and get mad when you don't, but they absolutely will not reciprocate that. They're not going to reward you with a pay raise. They're not going to reward you with a bonus, or they're not going to go to bat for you when somebody tries to attack your character. And if anything, they're like, oh, here's an opportunity to get rid of this guy that we're paying too much for, and we can hire somebody cheaper. Like, that's how they look at you. You're replaceable at work. You're not replaceable at the home. So that's what you deal with. Anyway, that's all, you know. that's all well and fun. That's what we have to deal with. But it's okay. It'll be all right. You know, if anything, a lot of the people like that who get let go for those kinds of reasons, you know what? They learn their lesson. They do. And then they move on to bigger and better things. And the Lord is with us. And everything's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So again, I'm not like looking for revenge or anything. I'm like, whew, I don't want to work for a company like that again. No, thank you, please. We care about you. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just care about the work I do for exactly. You couldn't care less if it was me or someone else doing the work as long as the work gets done. Yeah, and the work gets done in like according to how they want it to be done too. That's the worst part. I had to learn to only do what's in my job description and nothing more, because that's how you burn yourself out. Yeah. And I've done that. You know what I mean? I've gone above and beyond. I stayed late. I did the extra thing. And for my efforts, I actually got punished for it. I got punished for it. You know, it was like wild behavior. For doing exactly what they demanded. It was, you want to talk about a bitter draught. Like, oh man, I was super salty after that. My department has been more in defense of each other than HR has been. Well, HR is a monster. You know what I mean? They say HR is supposed to be there for you, for the employee, but really, I mean, look at their name. Look what HR stands for: Human Resources. They don't look at you as people. They look at you as a resource, a commodity. They don't care. You're replaceable. They lose their gold nugget, they'll find another one. You know what I mean? Like, they don't care. HR is one of the biggest, and and I don't mean to offend anybody who works as HR, but I think HR is one of the biggest wastes of manpower on the face of the planet. Those people don't do anything. Even worse now, they're outsourcing their own jobs to AI and then claiming they're doing all this work. You guys are supposed to be looking at like resumes and hiring people, and instead you're just feeding it. You're just like, let the AI do it, and it's just like, it's terrible. Terrible. He's insulting you. No. No, I'm insulting the job, not the people. AI, HR itself, it's a flawed, pointless job. I think HR departments didn't even exist like 60 years ago. Right? Like, when was HR invented? I don't even know. Industrial Revolution. Okay, so maybe the past like 100 years. And that's still, companies work just fine before then without them. Like, I don't know. That's my opinion. I choose to believe it's the right one. But I might, to be fair, I may be biased and bitter just because of my experience with them. So maybe it's not all companies. But the ones I've dealt with have not been great. All right. Anyway, I've jabberjawed enough. We got to get through this book. We are on chapter 12. Let me get the kiddos in here so they can listen. So we'll start reading when you guys are ready and settled. So if you guys want to hear the book, again, we are reading Prince Caspian. We are on chapter 12. So up until this point, I'll give you guys a quick recap while the kids get settled and if they're going to come in here or not. But basically, this story, the Pevensies have returned to Narnia. It's possibly thousands of years later. We're not really sure how far in the future it is.
This is the first one.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
That's for one.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I finished my avatar.
Apparently, Gabe has something to tell you. Go ahead.
I've finished my avatar for when we stream together.
Yes. He's been drawing up a new, like, Link-themed avatar, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so the Pevensies have arrived back in Narnia, but it's possibly like thousands of years later. Cair Paravel is a forgotten ruin. Everything in Narnia has been overrun by a human a human people called Telmarines. And the Telmarines have usurped the kingdom of Narnia for themselves. And it's currently under the command of somebody named Miraz, which is Prince Caspian's uncle, who usurped the kingdom from his father after killing him. Now, Narnian creatures have all gone into hiding. Their mythical creatures to the Telmarines, who are actually kind of afraid of them and kind of superstitious. At this point, though, Prince Caspian has to flee from his uncle Miraz because Miraz had a son and, no longer needed Caspian as his heir because now he had a descendant in which to pass his usurped throne from. So Caspian flees with the help of his tutor, Dr. Cornelius. So that's what that is. Webby Pumpkin, my lord. It's good to see you, Battle Brother. How are you this fine and glorious morning? I hope the rest of your stream went well. How was your stream? Let everybody know of your glory, and please follow Webby Pumpkin. He's a marvelous Battle Brother in Christ. A fellow Protestant, as we are called. And he's actually going to be... I'm actually going to be joining him in glorious battle, I believe, this Friday for a Game of Favorites and Petoni and everything. So you guys should go check that out. It's going to be funny. They're all really talented, funny people, and it's gonna be a good time. The Heresy Edition. That's gonna be great. Chameleon, girl protector of. Wait, Chameleon, girl protector of. So the girl protector of chameleons? Noble, welcome in, Battle Sister. I'm honored to have you here. Hello. Honored to have you. My wife left her phone, so I have to take it to her at work. Raid. Okay, run and go do that. Good luck. God bless you. How did she contact you now in this day and age? I don't even know how that works. Peter, good to see you. Hello, brother. Speaking of Peter, there he is. It was great. Looking forward to making Heresy with you Friday. It's going to be really funny. I'm looking forward. I can't wait to hear your jokes. It's going to be great. I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to have a good time. You guys will too. No better. Oh. Good morning, Darth Rowe, brother. Welcome in. She sent me a lot of emails and then called me from a coworker's phone. Well, at least she knew at least she knew your number. Yeah. That's good. At least she knew your number. I know this day and age, I don't know. People don't really. They're like, it's contact number 3, and then you just punch it in. It's like, oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, we've been teaching our kids our phone number so that if they ever had to do that, it's just funny you have to do that now. The realms, I see. Well, either way, I'm honored to have you all here. We are reading, not right now. Especially not on stream where people could hear you. And then they could hear the number, right? Right? You imagine? It's like my kids just shout out my phone number. It's like, and now I have to change my phone. Thanks, guys. Now, we don't do that. That's a quick way to get your butt paddled. Yenza and I don't know each other's numbers. Peter, that's an important thing to know. You need to know. I know my wife's. No, we're not gonna do that. So it'll be fine. So Bacon, congratulations on 4th and Beyond. Well done.
Bacon?
Yes, Sir Bacon.
Sounds yummy.
Doki, good to see you, my lord. So we, today, we're reading the book of Prince Caspian. We're on the last 4 chapters. I've just been talking for like an hour. But we're in the last 4 chapters, so we should finish the book today. If you guys are ready to listen to that, you are welcome to sit in and listen to my horrible voice acting. And we'll have a good time. Thank you, son. I know my number and my mom's number, and I only know my mom's number because that's the one that's on most of the rewards programs we use. Oh. Doki, my lord, thank you for the 20 stream streak. I'm honored, brother. Oh, I see. I'm in trouble, but Yenza's fine. No, you're both in trouble. You would both be in trouble if you needed to know the number and call your spouse and you lost your phone. What are you going to do? I wouldn't single you out, brother. Don't accuse me of such heresy. That's for Friday. Stop that. Don't tattle. I'm sitting right here. I will eject you both from my office if you act up, right? Right? Capici?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so sit tight. They're getting stir crazy, so we gotta. All right. So again, quick recap. The Telmarines are in Prince Caspian are chasing after Prince Caspian. They've begun fighting an open warfare. The Narnians have rallied around Prince Caspian, claiming him to be their king, and they're fighting against Miraz and the Telmarine army. So now the Pevensies, having learned the tale and having been summoned by Aslan back into Narnia, have just arrived along with Aslan, have just arrived to support Caspian, and we're about to find out what's going on. So they just arrived. They've been in a pitched battle. Something is going on inside where the stone table is in Aslan's How. So that's where they've been holding their war councils, Prince Caspian and his commanders. And so something's going on in there. Aslan instructed Peter and Edmund to go support Caspian and settle whatever they find there, and we're about to find out what's going on there. I would raise my voice, Yenta, I'm calling you, answer me. I think that would work, as long as she's in proximity. You know what I mean? You do work from home, you know what I mean. But what if she's out there, working at the school, you know what I mean? And she lost her phone. She needs to know your number, right? She needs to know your number so she can go to a pay phone, because those totally still exist. It's been a while since I read Prince Caspian. Well, settle in, kids. Here we go. You sound like me, Shock. Was it a perfect impression? Peter's like, I'll never invite you back. It was horrible. I was like, I'm sorry.
The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is
Yeah, Voyage of the Dawn Treader is probably my favorite.
They just kind of screwed up.
Like, story-wise. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah. It's an exciting book. There's a lot that goes on. It's interesting. I really like the Dawn Treader. Yenza thought that was me 100%. Well, there you go, Peter. If it's that good, then, if you ever need me to throw cover for you, you know what I mean? I can speak for you. I don't know why you would need to deceive your wife, but you know what I mean? There you are. You've got a backup. You know what I mean? I can say whatever you like. Oh, yes, it's totally me. I'm not friends with you anymore, Rico. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. No, you don't. All right, so the movies are mid in my opinion. Well, The The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe did a really good job.
Yeah,
it did a really good job.
They just added, they deleted that scene where
There was a few changes in it, but as a movie adaptation, I think it was really good. The subsequent ones like Prince Caspian, Dawn Treader.
Prince Caspian,
Prince Caspian, he was too old. He was like a full adult, and they gave him that weird accent, which they dropped for the Dawn Treader movie. It was really funny. I was like, and then they didn't do the rest of them. I have opinions. Anyway, I don't know. I would like for them to do them better.
There's the 90s silver chair, though.
Yeah, but that's not included in that group. Then the ones that Disney made, they did Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and then the Dawn Treader, and then that was it. Because everybody was like, you guys are messing this up. The only one I liked was the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe movie. Yeah, me too. The rest of the other two weren't as good.
The Magician's Nephew or the Wholesome Boy would be.
All of them would be good. I would love to see them make the complete series, but actually do a good job. Like, that would be. But honestly, the best audio or rendition I've heard is the Focus on the Family audio dramas that they did.
The only thing that's funny is Aslan's
they're really, really good. Yeah, Aslan's voice is the only goofy bit. If you ever check that out. Wasn't Netflix? Yeah.
It's like that.
Wasn't Netflix making a series? Yeah. We don't want to encourage that fatherless behavior that they're doing over there. It's well, we don't want to talk about it. They're screwing it up, which is expected.
Why is Netflix so bad?
Because they're owned and run by woke-tivists. That's why. That's just how it is.
But instead of Netflix, there's PureFlix.
Yeah, well, PureFlix,
Netflix,
they might be corrupted too.
Anything bad on it.
Yeah.
It's like Christian.
They still are, but there are concerns about how Greta Gerwig is going to ruin it. Oh, she's absolutely going to ruin it. I'm sure she's going to change all the races and genders of everybody to be their opposite. Like Netflix does. Like, nobody's going to be spared. They're all going to be, Chinese or African or something in them, even though it's supposed to be England at the height of, okay, whatever. It's just, and they'll turn Aslan into a woman. Why are you bringing a second chair in here? Okay. The question is, will it be worse than Rings of Prime? Probably, if not just as bad.
Ad break in progress.
Yeah, I know. We're in an ad break. It'll probably be just as bad, honestly. Nothing seems to be beyond the scorching gaze of Netflix. They just have to ruin and destroy everything. Pretty sure I've heard rumors of Aslan being voiced by a woman. Yeah, I believe they stated Aslan was going to be voiced by, what's her face? The lady from The Devil Wears Prada, or what was her name? Meryl Streep. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Meryl Streep. Huh? Oh, they say it's just, my wife says they say it's just a rumor still, so, but it's also something I wouldn't put past them. Alright, you two are going to go sit out there, since you want to fight, and I told you no. So you can sit out there and watch on the iPad. Go ahead. Liam Neeson is best for Aslan. He did a great job. Honestly, the Aslan from the Focus on the Family did a great job too. It was just the excitable moments that sounded goofy. It was just really weird. It was just, and I've explained that before. Anyway. Yeah, I know. The ad's almost over. Go watch it on the iPad and go sit on the couch.
Okay, I get all the iPad this time.
It's crazy. Told them not to. Yep. And when I told you not to. Anyway. All right. I'm stuck in ads, brother, if that's okay for me to say. Yes, it is okay for you to say, Chameleon. I would prefer to know so that you guys don't miss anything. So y'all don't miss anything. Dragon with a beard, my lord. Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome in. All right, are we returned from the ads? Is everyone back? Is everyone back? I know I've been talking on YouTube. I'm sorry, I yak sometimes. But we're gonna start. We're gonna start. All right, we're all back. Okay, so. This is chapter 12. So again, up to this point, the Pevensies have arrived on the scene. They're here to support Caspian in his war against his uncle Miraz. And Aslan himself instructed Edmund and King Peter to go and into Aslan's house, where Caspian is holding a war council with his generals, and he said to help them in any way you can because you're going to find something crazy. I'm getting an ad to learn about Christ on Netflix. Should I trust it? No. Absolutely not. No. In fact, cancel your Netflix subscription. That's what I would recommend. Okay. So, Chapter 12. Sorcery and Sudden Vengeance. Meanwhile, Trumpkin and the two boys arrived at the dark little stone archway, which led into the inside of the mound. And two sentinel badgers, the white patches on their cheeks were all Edmund could see of them, leapt up with bared teeth and asked them in snarling voices, "Who goes there?" "Trumpkin the dwarf, bringing the High King of Narnia out of the far past." The badgers nosed at the boys' hands. "Oh, at last," they said, "at last." "Give us a light, friends," said Trumpkin. The badgers found a torch just inside the arch, and Peter lit it and handed it to Trumpkin. "Oh, the DLF had better lead," he said. "We don't know our way out of this place." Trumpkin took the torch and went ahead into the dark tunnel. It was a cold, black, musty place, with an occasional bat fluttering in the torchlight and plenty of cobwebs. The boys, who had been mostly in the open air ever since that morning at the railway station, felt as if they were going into a trap or a prison. "I say, Peter," whispered Edmund, "look at those carvings on the walls. Don't they look old? And yet we're older than that. When we were last here, they hadn't been made." "Yes," said Peter. "That makes one think." The dwarf went on ahead, and then turned to the right, and then to the left, and then down some steps, and then to the left again. Then at last they saw a light ahead, light from under a door. And now for the first time they heard voices, for they had come to the door of the central chamber. The voices inside were angry ones. Someone was talking so loudly that the approach of the boys and the dwarf had not been heard. "I don't like the sounds of that," whispered Trumpkin to Peter. "Let's listen for a moment." And there stood, and all three stood perfectly still on the outside of the door. "You know well enough," said a voice. "That's the king," whispered Trumpkin. "Why the horn was not blown at sunrise this morning. Have you forgotten that Miraz fell upon us almost before Trumpkin had gone? And we were fighting for our lives for the space of 3 hours and more? I blew it when first I had a breathing space." "I'll not likely to forget it," came the angry voice. "When my dwarfs bore the brunt of the attack, and 1 in 5 of them fell." "Oh, that's Nickabrick," answered Trumpkin. "For shame, dwarf," came a thick voice. "Truffle hunters," said Trumpkin. "We all did as much as the dwarves, and none more than the king." "Well, that's the tale your own way for all I care," answered Nickabrick. "But whether it was that the horn was blown too late, or whether there was no magic in it at all, no help has come. You great clerk, you master magician, you know all. Are you still asking us to hang our hopes on Aslan and King Peter and all the rest of it?" "I must confess, I cannot deny it, that I am deeply disappointed in the results of the operation," came the answer. "That'll be Dr. Cornelius," said Trumpkin. "I speak plainly," said Nickabrick. "Your wallet's empty, your eggs addled and your fish uncaught, your promises broken. Stand aside then, and let others work, and that is why." "The help will come," said Truffle Hunter. "I stand by Aslan. Have patience. Let us beasts. The help will come. It may be even now at the door." "Pah!" snarled Nickabrick. "You badgers would have us wait till the sky falls, and you can all catch larks. I tell you, we can't wait. Food is running short. We lose more than we can afford at every encounter. Our followers are slipping away." "And why?" asked Truffle Hunter. "I'll tell you why. Because it is noised among them that we have all called the kings of old, and the kings of old have not answered. The last words Trumpkin spoke before he went, and went most likely to his death, were, if you must blow the horn, do not let the army know why you blow it, or what you hope from it. But that same evening, everyone seemed to know." "You'd better have shoved your grey snout in a hornet's nest, badger, than suggest that I am the blab," said Nickabrick. "Take it back, or, oh, stop it, both of you," said King Caspian. "I want to know what it is that Nickabrick keeps on hinting we should do. But before that, I want to know who those 2 strangers are whom he has brought into our council, and who stand there with their ears open and their mouths shut." "They are friends of mine," said Nickabrick. "And that's better right that you yourself be here than that you are a friend of Trumpkin's and the Badgers. And what right has that old dotard in the black gown to be here, except that he's your friend? Why am I here to be the only one who can't be his friends?" "His Majesty is the king to whom you have sworn allegiance," said Truffle Hunter sternly. Court manners, sneered Nickabrick. "But in this hole we may talk plainly. You know and he knows that this Telmarine boy will be king of nowhere and nobody in a week unless we can help him out of the trap which he sits." "Perhaps," said Cornelius, "your new friends would like to speak for themselves. You there, who and what are you?" "Worshipful Master Doctor," came a thin, whining voice. "So please you, I am only a poor old woman. I am and very obliged to his worshipfulness, dwarfship, for his friendship."
I'm sure His Majesty, bless his handsome face, has no need to be afraid of an old woman that's nearly doubled up with rheumatics and hasn't 2 sticks to put under her kettle. I have some poor little skill, not like yours, Master Doctor, of course, in small spells and cantrips that I'd be glad to use against our enemies if it was agreeable to all concerned. For I hate them, yes, no one hates them better than me.
That is almost interesting and satisfactory, said Dr. Cornelius. I think I now know what you are, madam. Perhaps your other friend, Nickabrick, would give some account of himself. A dull, gray voice, at which Peter's flesh crept, replied, I am hunger. I'm thirst. Where I bite, I hold till I die, and even after death, they must cut out my mouthful from my enemy's body and bury it with me. I can fast 100 years and not die. I can lie 100 nights on the ice and not freeze. I can drink a river of blood and not burst. Show me your enemies. And it is the presence of these 2 that you wish to disclose your plan, said Caspian. Yes, said Nickabrick, and by your help that I mean to execute it. There was a minute or 2 during which Trumpkin and the boys could hear Caspian and his 2 friends speaking in low voices, but could not make out what they were saying. Then Caspian spoke aloud. Well, Nickabrick, he said, we will hear your plan. There was a pause so long that the boys began to wonder if Nickabrick were ever going to begin. When he did, it was in a lower voice, as if he himself did not much like what he was saying. All said and done, he muttered. None of us know the truth about the ancient days in Narnia. Trump can believe none of the stories. I was ready to put them to trial. We tried first the horn, and it failed. If there was ever a High King Peter, and a Queen Susan, and a King Edmund and a Queen Lucy, then either they have not heard us, or they cannot come, or they are our enemies. Or they are on their way, put in Truffle Hunter. You can go on saying that till Miraz has fed us all to his dogs. As I was saying, we have tried one link in the chain of old legend, and it has done us no good. Well, but when your sword breaks, you draw your dagger. The stories tell of other powers besides the ancient kings and queens. How if we could call them up? If you mean Aslan, said Truffle Hunter, it's all one calling on him and on the kings. They were his servants. If he will not send them, but I make no doubt he will, he is more likely to come himself. No, you're right there, said Nickabrick. Aslan and the kings go together. Either Aslan is dead, or he is not on our side. Or else someone stronger than himself keeps him back. And if he did not come, how do we know we'd be our friend? He was not always a good friend to dwarfs, by all that's told. Not even to all beasts. Ask the wolves, and anyone. He was in Narnia only once that I've ever heard of, and he didn't stay long. You may drop Aslan out of the reckoning. I was thinking of someone else. There was no answer, and for a few minutes it was so still that Edmund could hear the wheezy and snuffling breath of the badger. What do you mean? Said Caspian at last. I mean a power so much greater than Aslan's that it held Narnia spellbound for years and years, if the stories are true. The White Witch, cried 3 voices all at once, and from the noise Peter guessed that 3 people had leapt to their feet. Yes, said Nickabrick very slowly and distinctly. I mean the witch. Sit down again. Don't all take fright at a name as if you were children. One moment. I have to talk to my children for just a brief moment. I'll be right back, and then we'll continue. Oh, okay. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to deal with my children. They were having epic meltdowns. So, anyway, where were we? Mark that. Of course, they have to have all these problems. Sometimes it's just there's just no helping them. Here we go. So, yes, said Nickabrick, very slowly and distinctly. So he was talking about the White Witch. I mean the witch. Sit down again. Don't all take fright at a name as if you were children. We want power, and we want a power that will be on our side. As for power, do not the stories say that the witch defeated Aslan and bound him and killed him on that very stone which is over there, beyond the light? But they also say that he came to life again, said the Badger sharply. Yes, they say, answered Nickabrick. But you'll notice that we hear precious little about anything he did afterward. He just fades out of the story. How do you explain that? If he really came to life, is it much more likely that he didn't? That the stories say nothing more about him because there was nothing more to say. I'm going to be honest. Brother, you sound like Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. I do. I do. A lot of people have said that. It's probably because I've done too much time pretending to be him. Because, you know, there's the poison. The poison for Cusco. The poison specially chosen to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. You talking about that poison, Camille? Anyway, yeah, I know. It's okay. Don't worry. Let's see. He established the kings and queens, said Caspian. Where was it? Yeah. A king who has just won a great battle can usually establish himself without the help of a performing lion, said Nickabrick. There was a fierce growl, and probably from Truffle Hunter. And anyway, Nickabrick continued, what came of the kings and queens in their reign? They faded too. It's very different from the witch. They say she ruled for 100 years. 100 years of winter. There's power, if you like. There's something practical. But heaven and earth, said the king. Haven't we always been told that she was the worst enemy of all? Wasn't she a tyrant 10 times worse than Miraz? Perhaps, said Nickabrick in a cold voice. Perhaps she was for you humans. If there were any of you in those days, perhaps she was for some of the beasts. She stamped out the beavers, I dare say. At least there are none of them in Narnia now. But she got all right with the dwarves. I'm a dwarf, and I stand by my own people. We're not afraid of the witch. But you've joined with us, said Truffle Hunter. Oh no, don't be sorry, Camille. It's totally fine. I think it's funny. It's funny. Don't worry. I do sound like Patrick Warburton a little bit. It's the nature of my voice. Nothing I can do. I just hope you have a good time. There we go. Yes, and a lot of good it is done by my people so far, snapped Nickabrick. Who is sent on all the dangerous raids? The dwarfs. Who goes short when the rations fail? The dwarfs. Who? Lies. All lies, said the badger. And so, said Nickabrick, whose voice now rose to a scream, if you can't help my people, I'll go to someone who can. Is this open treason, dwarf? Asked the king. Put that sword back in its sheath, Caspian, said Nickabrick. Murder at council, eh? Is that your game? Don't be fool enough to try it. You think I'm afraid of you? There's 3 on my side and 3 on yours. Come on then, snarled Truffle Hunter, but he was immediately interrupted. Stop, said Dr. Cornelius. You go on too fast. The witch is dead. All the stories agree on that. What does Nickabrick mean by calling on the witch? That gray and terrible voice, which had spoken only once before, said, Oh, is she? And then the shrill, whiny voice began, Oh, bless his heart. His dear little majesty needn't mind about the white lady. That's what we call her, being dead. Sorry, my cell phone ringtone was on. There we go. All kinds of distractions today. I'm messing up. Let's see. That's what we call her, being dead. The worshipful Master Doctor is only making a game of a poor old woman like me when he says that. Sweet Master Doctor, learned Master Doctor, who ever heard of a witch that really died? You can always get them back. Call her up, said the gray voice. We are all ready. Draw the circle. Prepare the blue fire. Above the steadily increasing growl of the badger and Cornelius' sharp, What? Rose the voice of King Caspian like thunder. So that is your plan, Nickabrick. Black sorcery and the calling up of an accursed ghost. And I see who your companions are, a hag and a werewolf. The next minute or so was very confused. There was an animal roaring, a clash of steel. The boys and Trumpkin rushed in. Peter had a glimpse of a horrible, gray, gaunt creature, half man and half wolf, in the very act of leaping upon a boy about his own age. And Edmund saw a badger and a dwarf rolling on the floor in a sort of catfight. Trumpkin found himself face to face with the hag. Her nose and chin stuck out like a pair of nutcrackers. Her dirty gray hair was flying about her face, and she had just got Dr. Cornelius by the throat. At one slash of Trumpkin's sword, her head rolled on the floor. Then the light was knocked over, and it was all swords, teeth, claws, fists, and boots for about 60 seconds. And then silence.
Are you all right, Ed? I think so, panted Edmund. I've got that brute Nickabrick, but he's still alive.
Oh, weights and water bottles, came an angry voice. It's me you're sitting on. Get off.
Oh, you're like a young elephant. Oh, I'm sorry, DLF, said Edmund. Is that better?
Oh, no, bellowed Trumpkin. You're putting your boot in my mouth. Go away.
Is King Caspian anywhere? Asked Peter. I'm here, said a rather faint voice. Something bit me.
They all heard the noise of someone striking a match. It was Edmund. The little flame showed his face, looking pale and dirty. He blundered about for a little, found the candle, and they were no longer using the lamp, for they had run out of oil, set it on the table, and lit it. When the flame rose clear, several people scrambled to their feet. 6 faces blinked at one another in the candlelight. We don't seem to have any enemies left, said Peter. There's the hag, dead. He turned his eyes quickly away from her. And Nickabrick, dead too. And I suppose this thing is a werewolf. It's so long since I've seen one. Wolf's head and man's body. That means he was just turning from man into wolf at the moment he was killed. And you, I suppose, are King Caspian.
Yes, said the other boy, but I've no idea who you are.
It's the High King Peter, said Trumpkin.
Your Majesty is very welcome, said Caspian.
And so is your Majesty, said Peter. I haven't come to take your place, you know, but to put you into yours.
Your Majesty,
said another voice at Peter's elbow. He turned and found himself face to face with the badger. Peter leaned forward, put his arms around the beast, and kissed the furry head. It wasn't a girlish thing for him to do, because he was the High King.
Oh, best of badgers, he said, you never doubted us all through. No credit to me, your Majesty, said Truffle Hunter. I'm a beast, and we don't change. I'm a badger, that's what's more, and we hold on. I am sorry for Nickabrick, said Caspian, though he hated me from the first moment he saw me. He'd gone sour, inside from long suffering and hating. If we had won quickly, he might have become a good dwarf in the days of peace. I don't know which of us killed him. I'm glad of that.
You're bleeding, said Peter.
Yes, I'm bitten, said Caspian. It was that wolf thing.
Cleaning and bandaging the wound took a long time. And when it was done, Trumpkin said, Now, before everything else, we want some breakfast.
Oh, but not here,
said Peter.
No, said Caspian with a shudder, and we must send someone to take away the bodies.
Let the vermin be flung into a pit, said Peter. But the dwarf we will give to his people to be buried in their own fashion. They breakfasted at last in another of the dark cellars of Aslan's How. It was not such a breakfast as they would have chosen, for Caspian and Cornelius were thinking of venison patties, and Peter and Edmund of buttered eggs and hot coffee. But what everyone got was a little bit of cold bear meat out of the boys' pockets, a lump of hard cheese, an onion, and a mug of water. But from the way they fell to, anyone would have supposed it was delicious. Chapter 13. The High King in Command. Now, said Peter as they finished their meal, Aslan and the girls, that's Queen Susan and Queen Lucy Caspian, are somewhere close. We don't know when he will act. In his time, no doubt, not ours.
In the meantime, he would like us to do what we can on our own. You say, Caspian, we are not strong enough to meet Miraz in pitched battle. I'm afraid not, High King, said Caspian. He was liking Peter very much, but was rather tongue-tied. It was much stranger for him to meet the great kings out of the old stories than it was for them to meet him. Very well, then, said Peter. I'll send him a challenge to single combat. No one had thought of this before. Please, said Caspian, could it not be me? I want to avenge my father. You're wounded, said Peter. And anyway, wouldn't he just laugh at a challenge from you? I mean, we have seen that you are a king and a warrior, but he thinks of you as a kid. Oh, but sire, said the badger, who sat very close to Peter and never took his eyes off of him, will he accept a challenge even from you? He knows he has the stronger army. Very likely he won't, said Peter, but there's always the chance. And even if he doesn't, we shall spend the best part of the day sending heralds to and fro and all that. By then Aslan may have done something, and at least I can inspect the army and strengthen the position. I will send the challenge. In fact, I will write it at once. Have you pen and ink, Master Doctor? Oh, a scholar is never without them, Your Majesty, answered Dr. Cornelius. Very well. I will dictate, said Peter, and while the doctor spread out a parchment and opened his inkhorn and sharpened his pen, Peter leant back with half-closed eyes and recalled to his mind the language in which he had written such things long ago in Narnia's golden age. Right, he said at last. Now, if you are ready, Doctor. Dr. Cornelius dipped his pen and waited, and Peter dictated as follows. Peter, by the gift of Aslan, by election, by prescription, and by conquest, High King over all kings in Narnia, Emperor of the Lone Islands, and Lord of Cair Paravel, Knight of the most noble order of the Lion, to Miraz, son of Caspian the Eighth, sometime Lord Protector of Narnia, and now styling himself King of Narnia. Greetings. Have you got that? Narnia, common, greeting, muttered the doctor. Yes, sire. Then begin a new paragraph, said Peter. For to prevent the effusion of blood, and for the avoidance of all other inconveniences likely to grow from the wars now levied in our realm of Narnia, it is our pleasure to adventure our royal person, on behalf of our trusty and well-beloved Caspian, in clean wager of battle, to prove upon your lordship's body that the King Caspian is lawful king, under us in Narnia both by our gift and by the laws of the Telmarines. And your lordship twice guilty of treachery, both in withholding the dominion of Narnia from the said Caspian, and in the most abominable, don't forget to spell it as an H, Doctor, bloody and unnatural murder of your kindly lord and brother King Caspian the Ninth of that name. Wherefore, we most heartily provoke challenge and defy your lordship to the said combat and monarchy, and have said these letters by the hand of our well-beloved and royal brother Edmund, sometime king under us in Narnia, Duke of Lantern Waste and Count of the Western Marsh, Knight of the noble order of the Table, to whom we have given full power of determining with your lordship all the duitions of the said battle, given at our lodging in Aslan's How, his 12th day of the month green roof in the first year of Caspian 10th of Narnia. There, that ought to do, said Peter, drawing a deep breath. And now we must send 2 others with King Edmund. I think the giant ought to be one. He's not very clever, you know, said Caspian. Oh, of course not, said Peter. But any giant looks impressive, if only he will keep quiet, and it will cheer him up. But who for the others? Upon my word, said Trumpkin, if you want someone who can kill with looks, Reepicheep would be the best. He would indeed, from all I hear, said Peter with a laugh. If only he wasn't so small. They wouldn't even see him till he was close. Send Glenstorm then, sire, said Trufflehunter. No one's ever laughed at a centaur. An hour later, 2 great lords in the army of Miraz, the Lord Glozell and the Lord Caspian,
strolling along their lines and picking their teeth after breakfast, looked up and saw coming down to them from the wood the centaur and giant Wimbleweather, whom they had seen before in battle, and between them a figure they could not recognize. Nor indeed would the other boys at Edmund's school have recognized him if they could have seen him at that moment. For as Aslan had breathed on him at their meeting, and a kind of greatness hung about him. "Oh, what's to do?" said the Lord Gazelle. "An attack?" "It appears a parley, rather," said Sir Caspian. "See, they carry green branches. They are coming to surrender, most likely." "He that is walking between the centaur and the giant has no look of surrender in his face," said Glazelle. "Who can he be? It is not the boy Caspian." "No, indeed," said Sir Caspian. "He's a fell warrior, I warrant you, wherever the rebels have got him from. He is, in your lordship's private ear, a kinglier man than even Miraz was. And what mail he wears! None of our smiths can make the like." "I'll wager my dappered Pomley he brings a challenge, not a surrender," said Glazelle. "How then?" said Sir Caspian. "We hold the enemy in our fist here. Miraz would never be so harebrained as to throw away his advantage on a combat." "He might be brought to it," said Glazelle in a much lower voice. "Softly," said Sir Caspian. "Step a little inside here, out of earshot of those sentries. Now, have I taken your lordship's meaning aright?" Oh, we're in ads. We're in ads. Okay, hold on. We'll have to back up. Let me know the moment you guys are back. Should be here shortly. Caffeinated squirrel. Reaper-cheap. My boy. Ugh. Do a big stretch, everybody chill, relax. Okay. A little sip of coffee or some water. Alright, have we returned from the ads, Twitch? Are we back? What was the last thing you all heard? I'll back up for you. Let me know that you have returned, and let me know where you guys last heard us reading. I could probably back up to the top of the page. It'd probably be fine. So we had Lord Glazelle and Sir Caspian speaking. Let's see. Oh, don't apologize, Chameleon. It's totally fine. I thought I was keeping track of it, but it started already. So the last thing it was a little bit right after Reaper-cheap. Okay. Okay, so we'll start back when the two lords see Edmund walking up then. Let's see, because they talked about Reaper-cheap. Nobody ever... too small. Send Glenstorm, sire, said Truffle Hunter. No one has ever laughed at a centaur. So then it starts off here. So, an hour later, two great lords in the army of Miraz, the Lord Glazelle and the Lord Caspian, strolling along their lines and picking their teeth after breakfast, looked up and saw coming down to them from the wood the centaur and giant Wimbleweather, whom they had seen before in battle, and between them a figure they could not recognize. Nor indeed would the other boys at Edmund's school have recognized him if they could have seen him at that moment. For Aslan had breathed on him at their meeting, and a kind of greatness hung about him. "Oh, what's to do?" said the Lord Glazelle. "An attack?" "I parley, rather," said Sir Caspian. "See, they carry green branches. They are coming to surrender, most likely." "He that is walking between the centaur and the giant has no look of surrender in his face," said Glazelle. "Who can he be? It is not the boy Caspian." "No, indeed," said Sir Caspian. "This is a fell warrior, I warrant you, wherever the rebels have got him from. He is, in your lordship's private ear, a kinglier man than ever Miraz was. And what mail he wears! None of our smiths can make the like. I'll wager my dappled Pomley he brings a challenge, not a surrender," said Glazelle.
Well, how then, said Sir Caspian, we hold the enemy in our fist. Miraz would never be so harebrained as to throw away his advantage on a combat. He might be brought to it, said Glazelle in a much lower voice. Oh, softly, said Sir Caspian. Step a little aside here, out of earshot of those sentries. Now, have I taken your lordship's meaning aright? If the king undertook wager of battle, whispered Glazelle, why, either he would kill or be killed. So, said Sir Caspian, nodding his head, and if he killed, we should have won this war. Certainly. And if not? Why, if not, we should be as able to win it without the king's grace as with him, for I need not tell your lordship that Miraz is no very great captain. And after that, we should be both victorious and kingless. But it is your meaning, my lord, that you and I could hold this land quite as conveniently without a king as with one. Glazelle's face grew ugly, not forgetting, he said, that it was we who first put him on the throne, and in all the years that he has enjoyed it, what fruits have come our way? What gratitude has he shown us? Say no more, answered Sir Caspian, but look, here comes one to fetch us to the king's tent. When they reached Miraz's tent, they saw Edmund and his two companions seated outside it, and being entertained with cakes and wine, and having already delivered the challenge, and withdrawn while the king was considering it. When they saw them thus at close quarters, the two Telmarine lords thought all three of them very alarming. Inside they found Miraz, unarmed and finishing his breakfast. His face was flushed, and there was a scowl on his brow. There, he growled, flinging the parchment across the table to them. See what a pack of nursery tales and jackanapes of nephew has sent us. By your leave, sire, said Glazelle, if the young warrior whom we have seen just outside is the King Edmund mentioned in the writing, then I would not call him a nursery tale, but a very dangerous knight. King Edmund, pah! Does your lordship believe those old wives' fables about Peter and Edmund and the rest? I believe my eyes, your majesty, said Glazelle. Well, this is to no purpose, said Miraz. But as touching the challenge, I suppose there's only one opinion between us. I suppose so, indeed, sire, said Glazelle. And what is that? Asked the king. Oh, most infallibly is to refuse it, said Glazelle. For the thought of... Oh, I've never been called a coward. I must plainly say that to meet that young man in battle is more than my heart would serve for me. And if, as is likely his brother, the High King is more dangerous than he, why, on your life, my Lord King, have nothing to do with him. Plague on you, cried Miraz. It was not that sort of counsel I wanted. Do you think I am asking you if I should be afraid to meet this Peter, if there is such a man? Do you think I fear him? I wanted your counsel on the policy of the matter, whether we, having the advantage, should hazard it on a wager of a battle. To which I can only answer, your majesty, said Glazelle, that for all other reasons the challenge should be refused. There is death in the strange knight's face. There you are again, said Miraz, now thoroughly angry. Are you trying to make it appear that I am so great a coward as your lordship? Your majesty may say your pleasure, said Glazelle sulkily. To talk like an old woman, Glazelle, said the king. What say you, my lord Sir Caspian? Oh, do not touch it, sire, was the reply. And what your majesty says of the policy of the thing comes in very happily. It gives your majesty excellent grounds for a refusal without any cause for questioning your majesty's honor or courage. Great Haven! Exclaimed Miraz, jumping to his feet. Are you also bewitched today? Do you think I am looking for grounds to refuse it? You might as well call me coward to my face.
The conversation was going exactly as the two lords wished, so they said nothing.
I see what it is, said Miraz, after staring at them as if his eyes would start out of his head. You are as lily-livered as hares, yourselves, and have the effrontery to imagine my heart after the likeness of yours. Grounds for a refusal indeed, excuses for not fighting. Are you soldiers? Are you Telmarines? Are you men? And if I do not refuse it, as all good reasons of captaincy and martial policy urge me to do, you will think and teach others to think I was afraid. Is it not so? No man of your majesty's age, said Glazelle, would be called coward by any wise soldier for refusing the combat with a great warrior, the flower of his youth. So I'm about to be a dotard with one foot in the grave, as well as a dastard, roared Miraz. I'll tell you what it is, my lords, with your womanish counsels ever shying from the true point, which is one of policy. You have done the very opposite of your intent. I had meant to refuse it, but I'll accept it. Do you hear? Accept it! I'll not be shamed because some witchcraft or treason has frozen both of your bloods. We beseech you, your majesty, said Glazelle, but Miraz had flung out of the tent, and they could hear him bawling out his acceptance to Edmund. The two lords looked at one another and chuckled quietly. I knew he'd do it if we were properly chafed, said Glazelle, but I'll never forget he called me a coward. It shall be paid for. There was a great stirring at Aslan's Howe when the news came back and was communicated to the various creatures. Edmund, with one of Miraz's captains, had already marked out the place for the combat, and ropes and stakes had been put round it. 2 Telmarines were to stand at 2 of the corners, and 1 in the middle of one side as marshals of the lists. 3 marshals for the other 2 corners, and the other side were to be furnished by the High King. Peter was just explaining to Caspian that he could not be one because his right to the throne was what they were fighting about, when suddenly a thick, sleepy voice said, Your Majesty, please. Peter turned, and there stood the eldest of the Bulgy Bears. If you please, Your Majesty, he said. I'm a bear, I am, you know. To be sure, so you are, and a good bear too, I don't doubt, said Peter. Yes, said the bear, but it was always a right of the bears to supply 1 marshal of the lists. Oh, don't let him, whispered Trumpkin to Peter. He's a good creature, but he'll shame us all. He'll go to sleep, and he will suck his paws in front of the enemies too. I can't help that, said Peter, because he's quite right. The bears had that privilege. I can't imagine how it has been remembered all these years when so many other things have been forgotten. Oh, please, Your Majesty, said the bear. It is your right, said Peter, and you shall be one of the marshals, but you must remember not to suck on your paws. Oh, of course, said the bear in a very shocked voice. Oh, you're doing it this minute, bellowed Trumpkin. The bear whipped his paw out of his mouth and pretended he hadn't heard. Sire, came a shrill voice from near the ground. Ah, Reepicheep, said Peter after looking up and down and round as people usually did when addressed by the mouse. Sire, said Reepicheep, my life is ever at your command. By my honor is my own. Sire, I have among my people the only trumpeter in your majesty's army. I had thought perhaps we might have been sent with a challenge. But, sire, my people are grieved. Perhaps, if it were your pleasure that I should be a marshal of the lists, it would content them all. A noise not unlike thunder broke out from somewhere overhead at this point, as giant Wimbleweather burst into one of those not very unintelligent laughs to which the nicer sorts giants are so liable. He checked himself at once and looked as grave as a turnip by the time Reepicheep discovered where the noise came from.
I am afraid it would not do, said Peter very gravely. Some humans are afraid of mice.
I had observed it, sire, said Reepicheep.
And it would not be quite fair to Miraz, Peter continued, to have incite anything that might abate the edge of his courage.
Your Majesty is the mirror of honor, said the mouse with one of his admirable bows. And on this matter we have but a single mind. I thought I heard someone laughing just now. If anyone present wishes to make me the subject of his wit, I am very much at his service, with my sword, whenever he has leisure.
An awful silence followed this remark, which was broken by Peter saying, Giant Wimbleweather and the Bear and the Centaur Glenstorm shall be our marshals. The combat will be at 2 hours after noon. Dinner at noon precisely.
I say, said Edmund as they walked away, I suppose it is all right. I suppose you can beat him.
That's what I'm fighting him to find out, said Peter. Chapter 14. How all were very busy. A little before 2 o'clock, Trumpkin and the Badger sat with the rest of the creatures at the wood's edge looking across at the gleaming line of Miraz's army, which was about 2 arrow shots away. In between, a square pace of level ground had been staked for the combat. At the 2 far corners stood Glazelle and Caspian with drawn swords. At the near corners were giant Wimbleweather and the bulgy bear, who, in spite of all their warnings, was sucking his paws and looking, to tell the truth, uncommonly silly. To make up for this, Glenstorm on the right of the lists, stock still except when he stamped a hind hoof occasionally on the turf, looked much more imposing than the Telmarine Baron, who faced him on the left. Peter had just shaken hands with Edmund and the doctor, and was now walking down to the combat. It was like the moment before the pistol goes at an important race, but very much worse.
Oh, I wish Aslan had turned up before it came to this, said Trumpkin.
So do I, said Truffle Hunter. But look behind you.
Crows and crockery,
muttered the dwarf. As soon as he had done so,
what are they? Huge people, beautiful people, like gods and goddesses and giants. Hundreds and thousands of them, oh, to be sure, closing in behind us. What are they?
It's the Dryads and the Hamadryads, said Sylvans, said Truffle Hunter.
Aslan has waked them.
Huh, said the dwarf.
That'll be very useful if the enemy try any archery, but it won't help the High King very much if Miraz proves handier with the sword.
The Badger said nothing, for now Peter and Miraz were entering the lists from opposite ends, both on foot, both in chain shirts with helmets and shields. They advanced till they were very close together. Both bowed and seemed to speak, but it was impossible to hear what they said. Next moment, the 2 swords flashed in the sunlight. For a second, the clash could be heard, but it was immediately drowned because both armies began shouting like crowds at a football match.
Oh, well done, Peter! Oh, well done! Shouted Edmund, as he saw Miraz reel back a whole pace and a half.
Follow it up, quick! And Peter did, and for a few seconds it looked as if the fight might be won. But then Miraz pulled himself together, began to make real use of his height and weight.
Miraz! Miraz! The king, came the roar of the Telmarines.
Caspian and Edmund grew white with sickening anxiety.
Oh, Peter's taken some dreadful knocks, said Edmund.
Oh, hello, said Caspian. What's happening now?
Both falling apart, said Edmund. A bit blown, I expect. Watch. Oh, now they're beginning again. More scientifically this time. Circling round and round, feeling each other's defenses.
Oh, I'm afraid this Miraz knows his work, muttered the doctor. But hardly had he said this when there was such a clapping and baying and throwing up of hoods among the old Narnians that it was nearly deafening.
What was that? What was that? asked the doctor. My old eyes missed it.
The High King has
pricked him in the armpit, said Caspian, still clapping. Just where the armhole of the hauberk let the point through. First blood. Oh, it's looking ugly again now, though, said Edmund. Peter's not using his shield properly. He must be hurt in the left arm. It was only too true. Everyone could see that Peter's shield hung limp. The shouting of the Telmarines redoubled. Ah, you've seen more battles than I, said Caspian. Is there any chance now? Oh, precious little, said Edmund. I suppose he might just do it, with luck. Oh, why did we let it happen at all, said Caspian. Suddenly all the shouting on both sides died down. Edmund was puzzled for a moment. Then he said, Oh, I see. They've both agreed to arrest. Come on, Doctor. You and I may be able to do something for the High King. They ran down to the lists, and Peter came outside the ropes to meet them, his face red and sweaty, his chest heaving. Is your left arm wounded? Asked Edmund. Oh, not exactly a wound, Peter said. I got the full weight of his shield on my shield, like a load of bricks. The rim of the shield drove into my wrist. I don't think it's broken, but it might be a sprain. If you could tie it up very tight, I think I could manage. While they were doing this, Edmund asked anxiously, What do you think of him, Peter? He's tough, said Peter. Very tough. I have a chance if I can keep him on the hop till his weight and short wind come against him. In this hot sun, too. To tell the truth, I haven't much chance else. Give my love to everyone at home, Ed, if he gets me. Here he comes into the lists again. So long, old chap. Goodbye, Doctor. And I say, Ed, say something especially nice to Trumpkin. He's been a brick. Edmund couldn't speak. He walked back with the doctor to his own lines with a sick feeling in his stomach. But the new bout went well. Peter now seemed to be able to make some use of his shield, and he certainly could make use of his feet. He was almost playing Tig with Miraz now, keeping out of range, shifting his ground, making the enemy work. Coward, booed the Telmarines. Why don't you stand up to him? Don't you like it, eh? Thought you'd come to fight, not dance, yeah? Oh, I do hope he won't listen to them, said Caspian. Oh, not he, said Edmund. You don't know him. Oh! For Miraz had got in a blow at last on Peter's helmet. Peter staggered, slipped sideways, and fell on one knee. The roar of the Telmarines rose like the noise of the sea. Now, Miraz, they yelled. Now, quick, kill him! But indeed, there was no need to egg the usurper on. He was on top of Peter already. Edmund bit his lips till the blood came. As the sword flashed down on Peter, it looked as if it would slash off his head. Thank heavens! It had glanced down his right shoulder. The dwarf-wrought mail was sound and did not break. Great Scott! Cried Edmund. He's up again! Peter, go, get him, Peter! I can't see what happened, said the doctor. How did he do it? Grabbed Miraz's arm as it came down, said Trumpkin, dancing with delight. There's a man for you, using his enemy's arm as a ladder. Ah, the High King, the High King! Up for old Narnia! Look, said Truffle Hunter, Miraz is angry if it's good. They were certainly at it, hammer and tongs now, such a flurry of blows that it seemed impossible for either not to be killed. As the excitement grew, the shouting almost died away. The spectators were holding their breath. It was most horrible and most magnificent. A great shout arose from the old Narnians. Miraz was down, not struck by Peter, but face downward, having tripped on a tussock. Peter stepped back, waiting for him to rise. Oh, bother, said Edmund to himself. Need he be as gentlemanly as that? I suppose he must. Comes of being a knight and a high king. I suppose it is what Aslan would like. That brute will be up again in a minute, and then... But that brute never rose. The lords Glizel and Caspian had their own plans ready. As soon as they saw their king down, they leapt into the lists, crying, Treachery! Treachery! The Narnian traitors have stabbed him in the back while he lay helpless. To arms! To arms, Telmar! Peter hardly understood what was happening. He saw two big men running towards him with drawn swords. Then the third Telmarine had leapt over the ropes to his left.
"To arms, Narnia! Treachery!" shouted Peter. If all three had set upon him at once, he would never have spoken again. But Glazelle stopped to stab his own king to dead where he lay. "That is for your insult this morning," he whispered as the blade went home. Peter swung to face Caspian, slashed his legs from under him, and, with the back cut of the same stroke, walloped off his head. Edmund was now at his side, crying, "Narnia! Narnia, the lion!" The whole Telmarine army was rushing towards them, but now the giant was stamping forward, stooping low and swinging his club. The centaurs charged. Twang, twang behind, and hiss, hiss overhead came the archery of the dwarves. Trumpkin was fighting at his left. Full battle was joined. "Come back, Reepicheep, you little ass!" shouted Peter. "You'll only be killed! This is no place for mice!" But the ridiculous little creatures were dancing in and out among the feet of both armies, jabbing with their swords. Many a Telmarine warrior that day felt his foot suddenly pierced as if by a dozen skewers, hopped up on one leg, cursing the pain, and fell as often as not. If he fell, the mice finished him off. If he did not, someone else did. But almost before the old Narnians were really warmed to their work, they found the enemy giving way. Tough-looking warriors turned white, gazed in terror, not on the old Narnians, but on something behind them, and then flung down their weapons, shrieking, "The wood! The wood! It's the end of the world!" But soon neither their cries nor the sound of the weapons could be heard any more, for both were drowned in the ocean-like roar of the awakened trees as they plunged through the ranks of Peter's army and then on in pursuit of the Telmarines. Have you ever stood at the edge of a great wood on a high ridge when a wild southwester broke over it in full fury on an autumn evening? Imagine that sound, and then imagine that the wood, instead of being fixed to one place, was rushing at you, and was no longer trees but huge people. Yet still like trees, because their long arms waved like branches and their heads tossed and leaves fell around them in showers. It was like that for the Telmarines. It was a little alarming even for the Narnians. In a few minutes all Miraz's followers were running down to the great river in the hope of crossing the bridge to the town of Beruna, and there defending themselves behind the ramparts and closed gates. They reached the river, but there was no bridge. It had disappeared since yesterday. Then utter panic and horror fell upon them, and they all surrendered. But what had happened to the bridge? Early that morning, after a few hours' sleep, the girls had waked to see Aslan standing over them, and to hear his voice saying, "We will make holiday." They rubbed their eyes and looked round them. The trees had all gone, but could still be seen moving away toward Aslan's howe in a dark mass. Bacchus and the Maenads, his fierce madcap girls, and Silenus were still with them. Lucy, fully rested, jumped up. Everyone was awake, everyone laughing. Flutes were playing, cymbals clashing. Animals, not talking animals, were crowding in upon them from every direction. "What is it, Aslan?" said Lucy, her eyes dancing and her feet wanting to dance. "Come, children," he said. "Ride on my back again today." "Oh, lovely!" cried Lucy, and both girls climbed onto the warm golden back, as they had done no one knew how many years before. Then the whole party moved off, Aslan leading Bacchus and his Maenads, leaping, rushing, and turning somersaults, the beasts frisking and round about them, and Silenus on his donkey, bringing up the rear. They turned a little to the right, raced down a steep hill, and found the long bridge of Beruna in front of them. Before they had begun to cross it, however, up out of the water came a great, wet, bearded head, larger than a man's, crowned with rushes. It looked at Aslan, and out of its mouth came a deep voice. "Hail, Lord," it said, "loose my chains." "Who on earth is that?" whispered Susan. "I think it's the river god, but hush," said Lucy. "Bacchus," said Aslan, "deliver him from his chains." That means the bridge, I expect," thought Lucy. And so it did. Bacchus and his people splashed forward into the shallow water, and a minute later the most curious things began happening. Great, strong trunks of ivy came curling up on all the piers of the bridge, growing as quickly as a fire grows, wrapping the stones round, splitting, breaking, separating them. The walls of the bridge turned into hedges, gay with hawthorn for a moment, and then disappeared as the whole thing, with a rush and a rumble, collapsed into the swirling waters. With much splashing, screaming, and laughter, the revelers waded or swam or danced across the ford. "Hurrah! It's the ford of Baruna again!" cried the girls, and up the bank on the far side and into the town. Everyone in the streets fled before their faces. The first house they came to was a school, a girls' school, where a lot of Narnian girls with their hair done very tight and ugly, tight collars round their necks and thick, tickly stockings on their legs were having a history lesson. The sort of history that was taught in Narnia under Miraz's rule was duller than the truest history you ever read, and less true than the most exciting adventure story. "If you don't attend, Gwendolyn," said the mistress, "and stop looking out of the window, I shall have to give you an order mark." "But please, Miss Prizzle," began Gwendolyn. "Did you hear what I said, Gwendolyn?" asked Miss Prizzle. "But please, Miss Prizzle," said Gwendolyn, "there's a lion." "That's 2 order marks for talking nonsense," said Miss Prizzle. "And now—" A roar interrupted her. Ivy came curling in at the windows of the classroom. The walls became a mass of shimmering green. The leafy branches arched overhead where the ceiling had been. Miss Prizzle found she was standing on a grass in a forest glade. She clutched at her desk to steady herself and found that the desk was a rosebush. Wild people, such as she had never even imagined, were crowding round her. Then she saw the lion, screamed and fled, and with her fled her class, who were mostly dumpy, prim little girls with fat legs. Gwendolyn hesitated. "Will you stay with us, dear heart?" said Aslan. "Oh, may I? Thank you," said Gwendolyn. Instantly she joined the hands with 2 of the Maenads, who whirled her around in a merry dance and helped her take off some of the unnecessary and uncomfortable clothes that she was wearing. Wherever they went in the little town of Baruna, it was the same. Most of the people fled, a few joined them. And when they left the town, they were a larger and a merrier company. They swept on across the level fields on the north bank or left bank of the river. At every farm, animals came out to join them. Sad old donkeys who had never known joy grew suddenly young again. Chained dogs broke their chains. Horses kicked their carts to pieces and came trotting along with them, clop, clop, kicking up the mud and whinnying. Oh, ads again, eh? Whew. Alright, let's do a little stretch. Stretch, relax. Let's see how it goes. Let me know when the ads are over, everybody. Do they have timestamps on the chat? Alright, let me know when you guys are back. And then we'll backtrack to where the ads started. We're back now. Okay, what was the last thing you all heard? Last thing I heard was, if you don't attend. Okay, so we're back with the teacher. Let's see. "If you don't attend, Gwendolyn," said the mistress, and stop looking out the window, I shall have to give you an order mark." "But please, Miss Prizzle," began Gwendolyn. "Did you hear what I said, Gwendolyn?" asked Miss Prizzle. "But please, Miss Prizzle," said Gwendolyn, "there's a lion." "Take 2 order marks for talking a nonsense," said Miss Prizzle. "And now—" A roar interrupted her. Ivy came curling in at the windows of the classroom. The walls became a mass of shimmering green, and leafy branches arched overhead where the ceiling had been. Miss Prizzle found she was standing on a grass in a forest glade. She clutched at her desk to steady herself and found that the desk was a rosebush. Wild people, such as she had never even imagined, were crowding round her. Then she saw the lion, screamed and fled, and with her fled her class, who were mostly dumpy, prim little girls with fat legs. Gwendolyn hesitated. You'll stay with us, sweetheart, said Aslan.
Oh, may I? Thank you, said Gwendolen.
Instantly, she joined hands with two of the Maenads, who whirled her round in a merry dance and helped her take off some of the unnecessary and uncomfortable clothes that she was wearing. Wherever they went in the little town of Biruna, it was the same. Most of the people fled, and a few joined them. When they left the town, they were a larger and a merrier company. They swept on across the level fields on the north bank or left bank of the river. At every farm, animals came out to join them. Sad old donkeys who had never known joy grew suddenly young again. Chained dogs broke their chains. Horses kicked their carts to pieces and came trotting along with them, clop, clop, kicking up the mud and whinnying. At a well in a yard, they met a man who was beating a boy. The stick burst into flour in the man's hand. He tried to drop it, but it stuck to his hand. His arm became a branch, his body the trunk of a tree. His feet took root. The boy, who had been crying a moment before, burst out laughing and joined them. At a little town halfway to Beaver's Dam, where two rivers met, they came to another school where a tired-looking girl was teaching arithmetic to a number of boys who looked very like pigs. She looked out of the window and saw the divine revelers singing up the street, and a stab of joy went through her heart. Aslan stopped right under the window and looked up at her. "Oh, don't, she said. I'd love to, but I mustn't. I must stick to my work, and the children would be frightened if they saw you." "Frightened?" said this wrong person. "Frightened?" said the most pig-like of the boys. "Who's she talking to out the window? Let's tell the inspector she's talking to people out of the window when she ought to be teaching us." "Let's go and see who it is," said another boy, and they all came out crowding to the window. But as soon as their mean little faces looked out, Bacchus gave a great cry of, "You on!" And the boys all began howling with fright and trampling one another to get out of the door and jumping out of the windows. And it was said afterward, whether truly or not, that those particular little boys were never seen again, but that there were a lot of very fine little pigs in that part of the country which had never been seen there before. "Now, dear heart," said Aslan to the mistress, and she jumped down and joined them. At Beaver's Dam, they recrossed the river and came east again along the southern bank. They came to a little cottage where a child stood in the doorway crying. "Why are you crying, my love?" asked Aslan. The child, who had never seen a picture of a lion, was not afraid of him. "Auntie's very ill," she said. "She's going to die." And then Aslan went to go in at the door of the cottage, but it was too small for him. So when he got his head through, he pushed with his shoulders. Lucy and Susan fell off when he did this, and lifted the whole house up, and it fell backwards and apart. And there, still in her bed, though the bed was now in the open air, lay a little old woman who looked as if she had dwarf blood in her. She was at death's door, but when she opened her eyes and saw the bright, hairy head of the lion staring into her face, she did not scream or faint. She said, "Oh, Aslan, I knew it was true. I've been waiting for this all my life. Have you come to take me away?" "Yes, dearest," said Aslan, "but not the long journey yet." And as he spoke, like the flush creeping along the underside of a cloud at sunrise, the color came back to her white face, and her eyes grew bright, and she sat up and said, "Why, I do declare I feel that better. I think I could take a little breakfast this morning." "Here you are, mother," said Bacchus, dipping a pitcher in the cottage well and handing it to her. But what was in it now was not water, but the richest wine, red as red currant jelly, smooth as oil, strong as beef, warming as tea, and cool as dew. "Eh? You've done something to our well," said the old woman. "That makes a nice change, that does." And she jumped out of bed. "Ride on me," said Aslan, and added to Susan and Lucy, "You two queens will have to run now." "Oh, but we'd like that just as well," said Susan, and off they went again. And so at last, with leaping and dancing and singing with music, the laughter and roaring and barking and neighing, they all came to the place where Miraz's army stood flinging down their swords and holding up their hands, and Peter's army, still holding their weapons and breathing hard, stood round them with stern and glad faces. And the first thing that happened was that the old woman slipped off Aslan's back and ran across to Caspian, and they embraced one another, for she was his old nurse. Chapter 15. Aslan makes a door in the air. At the sight of Aslan, the cheeks of the Telmarine soldiers became the color of cold gravy. Their knees knocked together, and many fell on their faces. They had not believed in lions, and this made their fear greater. Even the red dwarfs, who knew that he came as a friend, still stood with open mouths and could not speak. Some of the black dwarves who had been of Nickabrick's party began to edge away, but all the talking beasts surged round the lion, with purrs and grunts and squeaks and whinnies of delight, fawning on him with their tails, rubbing against him, touching him reverently with their noses, and going to and fro under his body and between his legs. If you had ever seen a little cat loving a big dog whom it knows and trusts, you will have a pretty good picture of their behavior. Then Peter, leading Caspian, forced his way through the crowd of animals. This is Caspian, sir, he said, as Caspian knelt and kissed the lion's paw. Welcome, prince, said Aslan. Do you feel yourself sufficient to take up the kingship of Narnia? I don't think I do, sir, said Caspian. I'm only a kid. Good, said Aslan. If you had felt yourself sufficient, it would have been a proof that you were not. Therefore, under us and under the High King, you shall be King of Narnia, Lord of Cair Paravel, and Emperor of the Lone Islands. You and your heirs while your race lasts, and your coronation, but what have we here? For at that moment a curious little procession was approaching. 11 mice, 6 of whom carried between them something on a litter made of branches. But the litter was no bigger than a large atlas. No one has ever seen mice more woebegone than these. They were plastered with mud, some with blood too, and their ears were down, and their whiskers drooped, and their tails dragged in the grass. And their leader piped on his slender pipe a melancholy tune. On the litter lay what seemed little better than a damp heap of fur. All that was left of Reepicheep. He was still breathing, but more dead than alive, gashed with innumerable wounds, one paw crushed, and where his tail had been, a bandaged stump. Now, Lucy, said Aslan. Lucy had her diamond bottle out in a moment. Though only a drop was needed on each of Reepicheep's wounds. The wounds were so many that there was a long and anxious silence before she had finished, and the master mouse sprang from the litter. His hand went at once to his sword hilt, with the other he twirled his whiskers, and he bowed. Hail, Aslan! Came his shrill voice. I have the honor? But then he suddenly stopped. The fact was that he still had no tail. Whether that Lucy had forgotten it, or that her cordial, though it could heal wounds, could not make things grow again, Reepicheep became aware of his loss as made his bow, and perhaps it altered something in his balance. He looked over his right shoulder. Failing to see his tail, he strained his neck further till he was about to turn his shoulders, and his whole body followed. But by the time his hind quarters had turned too and were out of sight, then he strained his neck, looking over his shoulder again, and the same result. Only after he had turned completely round 3 times did he realize the dreadful truth. I am confounded, said Reepicheep to Aslan. I am completely out of countenance. I must crave your indulgence for appearing in this unseemly fashion. It becomes you very well, small one, said Aslan. All the same, replied Reepicheep. If anything could be done, perhaps, Majesty, and here he bowed to Lucy, But what would you have, what would you want with a tail? Asked Aslan.
Sir, said the mouse, I can eat and sleep and die for my king without one. But a tail is the honor and glory of a mouse.
I have sometimes wondered, friend, said Aslan, whether you do not think too much about your honor.
Highest of all kings, highest of all high kings, said Reepicheep, permit me to remind you that a very small size has been bestowed on us mice, and if we did not guard our dignity, some, who weigh worth by inches, would allow themselves very unsuitable unpleasantries at our expense. That is why I have been at some pains to make it known that no one who does not wish to feel this sword as near his heart as I can reach shall talk in my presence about traps or toasted cheese or candles. No, sir, not the tallest fool in Narnia.
Here he glared very fiercely up at Wimbleweather, but the giant, who was always a stage behind everyone else, had not yet discovered what was being talked about down at his feet, and so missed the point. What have your followers all drawn their swords, may I ask? Said Aslan.
May it please your high majesty, said the second mouse, whose name was Peepakeek. We are all waiting to cut off our tails if our chief must go without his. We will not bear the shame of wearing an honor which is denied to the high mouse.
Ah, roared Aslan, you have conquered me. You have great hearts, not for the sake of your dignity, Reepicheep, but for the love that is between you and your people, and still more for the kindness your people showed me long ago, when you ate away the cords that bound me on the stone table. And it was then, though you have long forgotten it, that you began to be talking mice. You shall have your tail again. Before Aslan had finished speaking, the new tail was in its place. Then, at Aslan's command, Peter bestowed the knighthood of the Order of the Lion on Caspian, and Caspian, as soon as he was knighted, himself bestowed it on Truffle Hunter and Trumpkin and Reepicheep, and made Dr. Cornelius his Lord Chancellor, and confirmed the Bulgy Bear in his hereditary office of Marshal of the Lists, and there was a great applause. After this, the Telmarine soldiers, firmly, but without taunts or blows, were taken across the ford, and all put under lock and key in the town of Beruna, and given beef and beer. They made a great fuss about wading in the river, for they all hated and feared running water, just as much as they hated and feared woods and animals. But in the end, the nuisance was over, and then the nicest parts of that long day began. Lucy, sitting close to Aslan and divinely comfortable, wondered what the trees were doing. At first, she thought they were merely dancing. They were certainly going round slowly in two circles, one from left to right and the other from right to left. Then she noticed that they kept growing something down in the center of both circles, something she thought they were cutting off long strands of their hair. At other times, it looked as if they were breaking off bits of their fingers. But, if so, they had plenty of fingers to spare, and it did not hurt them. But whatever they were throwing down, when it reached the ground, it became brushwood or dry sticks. Then 3 or 4 of the red dwarves came forward with their tinder boxes and set light to the pile, which first crackled and then blazed and finally roared as a woodland bonfire on midsummer night ought to do. And everyone sat down in a wide circle round it. Then Bacchus and Silenus and the Maenads began a dance far wilder than the dance of the trees. Not merely a dance for fun and beauty, though it was that too, but a magic dance of plenty. And where their hands touched and where their feet fell, the feast came into existence. Sides of roasted, delicious meat that filled the grove with smells, and wheaten cakes and oaten cakes, and honey and many colors sugars, and cream as thick as porridge and as smooth as still water, peaches, nectarines, pomegranates, pears, grapes, strawberries, raspberries, pyramids and cataracts of fruit. Then, in great wooden cups and bowls and mazers, wreathed with ivy, came the wines, dark, thick ones like syrups of mulberry juice, and clear red ones like red jellies liquefied, and yellow wines and green wines, and yellow-green and greenish-yellow. But for the tree people, different fare was provided. When Lucy saw Claudesley shovel and his mole shoveling up the turf in various places, which Bacchus had pointed out to them, and realized that the trees were going to eat earth, it gave her rather a shudder. But when she saw the earths that were actually brought to them, she felt quite different. They began with a rich brown loam that looked almost exactly like chocolate. So like chocolate, in fact, that Edmund tried a piece of it, but he did not find it at all nice. When the rich loam had taken the edge of their hunger, the trees turned to an earth of the kind you see in Somerset, which is almost pink. They said it was lighter and sweeter. At the cheese stage, they had a chalky soil, and then went on to delicate confections of the finest gravelled powders and choice silver sand. They drank very little wine, and it made the hollies very talkative, for the most part they quenched their thirst with deep draughts of mingled dew and rain, flavored with forest flowers and the airy taste of the thinnest clouds. Thus Aslan feasted the Narnians till long after the sunset had died away, and the stars had come out, and the great fire, now hotter but less noisy, shone like a beacon in the dark woods, and the frightened Telmarines saw it from far away and wondered what it might mean. The best thing of all about this feast was that there was no breaking up or going away, but as the talk grew quieter and slower, one after another would begin to nod and finally drop off to sleep, with feet toward the fire and good friends on either side, till at last there was silence all round the circle, and the chattering of water over the stone at the ford of Beruna could be heard once more. But all night Aslan and the moon gazed upon each other with joyful and unblinking eyes. Next day messengers, who were chiefly squirrels and birds, were sent all over the country with a proclamation to the scattered Telmarines, including, of course, the prisoners in Beruna. They were told that Caspian was now king, and that Narnia would henceforth belong to the talking beasts and the dwarfs and the dryads and fauns and other creatures quite as much as to the men. Any who chose to stay under the new conditions might do so. But for those who did not like the idea, Aslan would provide another home. Anyone who wished to go there must come to Aslan and the kings at the ford of Beruna by noon on the 5th day. You may imagine that this caused plenty of head-scratching among the Telmarines. Some of them, chiefly the young ones, had, like Caspian, heard stories of the old days and were delighted that they had come back. They were already making friends with the creatures. These all decided to stay in Narnia. But most of the older men, especially those who had been important under Miraz, were sulky and had no wish to live in a country where they could not rule the roost. "Live here with a lot of blooming, performing animals? No fear of that," they said. "And ghosts, too," some added with a shudder. "That's what those there dryads really are. It's not canny." They were also suspicious. "I don't trust him," they said. "Not with that awful lion and all. He won't keep his claws off us, you'll see." But then they were equally suspicious of his offer to give them a new home. "Take us off to this den and eat us one by one, most likely," they muttered. And the more they talked to one another, the sulkier and more suspicious they became. But on the appointed day, more than half of them turned up. At one end of the glade, Aslan had caused to be set up 2 stakes of wood, higher than a man's head, and about 3 feet apart. A third and lighter piece of wood was bound across them at the top, uniting them so that the whole thing looked like a doorway from nowhere into nowhere. In front of this stood Aslan himself, with Peter on his right and Caspian on his left. Grouped round them were Susan and Lucy, Trumpkin and Truffle Hunter, the Lord Cornelius, Glenstorm, Reepicheep, and others, the children of the dwarves, had made good use of the royal wardrobes in what had been Castle of Miraz and was now the Castle of Caspian, and what was silk and cloth and of gold, with snowy linen glancing through slashed sleeves, with silver mail shirts and jeweled sword hilts, with gilt helmets and feathered bonnets. They were almost too bright to look at. Even the beasts wore rich chains about their necks, yet nobody's eyes were on them or the children. The living and strokable gold of Aslan's mane outshone them all. The rest of the old Narnians stood down each side of the glade. At the far end stood the Telmarines. The sun shone brightly, and pennants fluttered in the light wind. "Men of Telmar," said Aslan, "you who seek a new land, hear my words. I will send you all to your own country, which I know and you do not." "We don't remember Telmar. We don't know where it is. We don't know what it is like," grumbled the Telmarines. "You came into Narnia out of Telmar," said Aslan. "But you came into Telmar from another place. You do not belong to this world at all. You came hither certain centuries ago, out of that same world to which the High King Peter belongs." At this, half the Telmarines began whimpering. "There you are. Told you so. He's going to kill us all and send us right out of the world." And the other half began throwing out their chests and slapping one another on the back and whispering, "There you are. Might have guessed we didn't belong to this place with all this queer, nasty, unnatural creatures. We're of royal blood, you'll see." And even Caspian and Cornelius and the children turned to Aslan with looks of amazement on their faces. "Peace," said Aslan, which to the nearest was a growl. The earth seemed to shake a little, and every living thing in the grove became still as stone. "You, Sir Caspian," said Aslan, "might have known that you could be no true king of Narnia like the old kings of old, unless you were a son of Adam and came from the world of Adam's sons. And so you are. Many years ago in that world, in a deep sea of that world which is called the South Sea, a shipload of pirates was driven by storm on an island. There they did as pirates would, killed the natives and took the native women for wives, and made palm wine and drank and were drunk, and lay in the shade of the palm trees, and woke up and quarreled, and sometimes killed one another. And in one of these frays, 6 were put to flight by the rest, and fled with their woman into the center of the island and up a mountain, and went, as they thought, into a cave to hide. But it was one of the magical places of that world, one of the chinks or chasms between that world and this." Yeah, let's see. Sorry, I'm muting the ads for a bit. There we go. "There were many chinks or chasms between worlds in old time, but they have grown rarer. This was one of the last. I do not say the last. And so they fell or rose or blundered or dropped right through and found themselves in this world, in the land of Telmar, which was then unpeopled. But why it was unpeopled is a long story. I will not tell it now. And in Telmar their descendants lived and became a fierce and proud people. And after many generations there was a famine in Telmar, and they invaded Narnia, which was then in some disorder. But that also would be a long story, and conquered it and ruled. You will mark all this well, King Caspian.
I do indeed, sir, said Caspian. I was wishing that I came of a more honorable lineage.
You came of the Lord Adam and the Lady Eve, said Aslan, and that is both honor enough to erect the head of the poorest beggar, and shame enough to bow the shoulders of the greatest emperor on earth. Be content. Caspian bowed. And now, said Aslan, you men and women of Telmar will go back to that island in the world of men from which your fathers first came. It is no bad place. The race of those pirates who first found it has died out, and it is without inhabitant. There are good wells of fresh water, and fruitful soil, and timber for building, and fish in the lagoons, and the other men of that world have not yet discovered it. The chasm is open for your return. But this I must warn you, that once you have gone through, it will close behind you forever. There will be no more commerce between the worlds by that door. There was silence for a moment, and then a burly, decent-looking fellow among the Telmarine soldiers pushed forward and said, "Well, I'll take the offer." "It is well chosen," said Aslan, "and because you have spoken first, strong magic is upon you. Your future in that world shall be good. Come forth." The man, now a little pale, came forward. Aslan and his court drew aside, leaving him free access to the empty doorway of the stakes. "Go through it, my son," said Aslan, bending toward him and touching the man's nose with his own. As soon as the lion's breath came about him, a new look came into the man's eyes, startled but not unhappy, as if he were trying to remember something. Then he squared his shoulders and walked into the door. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him. They saw the 3 pieces of wood, and through them the trees and grass and sky of Narnia. They saw the man between the doorposts, and then, in 1 second, he had vanished utterly. From the other end of the glade, the remaining Telmarines set up a wailing. "Ah, what's happened to him? Do you mean to murder us? We won't go that way." And then one of the clever Telmarines said, "We don't see any other world through those sticks. If you want us to believe in it, why doesn't one of you go? All of your own friends are keeping well away from the sticks." Instantly, Reepicheep stood forward and bowed. "If my example can be of any service, Aslan," he said, "I will take 11 mice through that arch at your bidding, without a moment's delay." "Nay, little one," said Aslan, laying his velvety paw ever so lightly on Reepicheep's head. "They would do dreadful things to you in that world. They would show you at fairs. It is others who must lead." "Come on," said Peter suddenly to Edmund and Lucy. "Our time is up." "Oh, what do you mean?" said Edmund. "This way," said Susan, who seemed to know all about it. "Back into the trees. We've got to change." "Change what?" asked Lucy. "Our clothes, of course," said Susan. "Nice fools we'd look on the platform of England, stationed in these." "But our other things are at Caspian's castle," said Edmund. "No, they're not," said Peter, still leading the way into the thickest wood. "They're all here. They were brought down in bundles this morning. It's all arranged." "Is that what Aslan was talking to you and Susan about this morning?" asked Lucy. "Yes, that and other things," said Peter, his face very solemn. "I can't tell it to you all. There were things he wanted to say to Sue, and because we're not coming back to Narnia." "Never?" cried Edmund and Lucy in dismay. "Oh, you two are," answered Peter. "At least, from what he said. I'm pretty sure he means you to get back someday. But not Sue and me. He says we're getting too old." "Oh, Peter," said Lucy, "what awful bad luck. Can you bear it?" Well, I think I can, said Peter. It's all rather different from what I thought. You'll understand when it comes to your last time, but quick, here are things. It was odd and not very nice. It was odd and not very nice to take off their royal clothes and to come back in their school things, not very fresh now into that great assembly. One or two of the nastier Telmarines jeered, but the other creatures all cheered and rose up in honor of Peter, the High King, and Queen Susan of the Horn, and King Edmund and Queen Lucy. There were affectionate and, on Lucy's part, tearful farewells with all their old friends, animal kisses and hugs from the bulgy bears, and hands wrung by Trumpkin, and a last tickly, whiskery-ish embrace with Truffle Hunter. And of course, Caspian offered the horn back to Susan, and of course Susan told him to keep it. And then wonderfully and terribly it was farewell to Aslan himself. And Peter took his place with Susan's hands on his shoulders, and Edmund's on hers, and Lucy's on his, and the first of the Telmarines on Lucy's. And so in a long line they moved forward to the door. After that came a moment which is hard to describe, for the children seemed to be seeing three things at once. One was the mouth of a cave opening into the glaring green and blue of an island in the Pacific, where all the Telmarines would find themselves the moment they were through the door. The second was a glade in Narnia, the faces of dwarves and beasts and deep eyes of Aslan, and the white patches on the badger's cheeks. But the third, which rapidly swallowed up the other two, was the gray, gravelly surface of a platform in a country station, and a seat with luggage round it, where they were all sitting as if they had never moved from it, a little flat and dreary for a moment. After all they had been through, but also, unexpectedly, nice in its own way. That, what with the familiar railway smell and the English sky and the summer term before them. Well, said Peter, we have had a time. Oh, bother, said Edmund. I've left my new torch in Narnia. And that is the end of Prince Caspian. But not the end of our story of Prince Caspian. So the book is done. The book is done. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Hello, Crafty Kitty over on YouTube. Good to see you. Battle Sister, welcome in. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you for joining us for this. And we're done before noon. Nice, nice. So what we will do is I plan to stream tomorrow morning and the morning after. That may change. And if we do that as scheduled, then we will begin reading The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. So if you guys have not heard that one's a very exciting book that continues the tale of two of the Pevensies. So as you heard in the end of this one, Peter and Susan do not return to Narnia, at least in this story. But Edmund and Lucy do, along with another. And that's going to be a continued tale with Prince Caspian. King Caspian in that story. So if you guys really like that, it's a really great book. So tune in. Bravo, I like that book. It's good to hear, Kitty. I'm glad you guys enjoyed. Thank you for being here. Excalibur, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I did notice that. I just couldn't interrupt the story. There were some chats I missed. Let's see. Well, they didn't have a way to purify water, so wine was safer to drink. I think there was less alcohol content. Yeah, they would mix it. Yeah. People in the medieval age, roughly 500 to 1580, drank more ale, beer, and wine than water because fermented drinks were safer, more nutritious, and easier to store than water, which is often contaminated with urban areas. Yeah. Creepy Pro, thank you for the lurk. I meant that C.S. Lewis sure does write about wine a lot, so it seems like he specifically likes it. He probably did. I think he did like a good imbibement every now and then. Senegal Island, it could be Squirrel. It could be. Yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much. Rico, I'm gonna need you to teach Hood how to read aloud. Why? What's wrong with Hood? He reads well. Aw, poor Hood. That's the one with Eustace, right? Yeah. So Eustace appears in this book, and actually he's in the rest of the stories. Eustace is in the rest of them. Same thing for oh, what's her name? The girl that joins him as well. Hood reads aloud like a second grader? Oh, don't tell him that. Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Is Eustace their brother?
Huh?
Is Eustace their like?
Is my sister?
Is Eustace like Peter's?
No, Eustace is their cousin. Eustace is their cousin. That's who Eustace is. Yeah, I like that book. Yeah, it's a good book, Kitty. It's a good book. I really enjoy Dawn Treader is probably I think it's my favorite one of the Narnian books. It's probably my favorite. It's really adventurous, a lot of fun. There's a lot of really interesting stuff that goes on. It's just it's so good. And then of course, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is classic. It's another great one, but a lot of really good stories yet to wield. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in. I hope I did it justice, and you guys enjoyed the book. Again, I'm gonna try and get all of these edited up and then put on the other YouTube channel. So there are 2 YouTubes. There's this one that we're streaming to right now. The Rico is Rico Gaming, and then there's just the Rico is Rico. So if you go to the other YouTube, I've done a lot of like audio readings of different like historical docs and books and voice acting stuff. So go ahead and you can pop over there and check those out if you want. But that is where I'm going to post these stories. So if you missed the audio readings of this, I'm going to try and get all those posted. Right now we've got The Hobbit we're working on, which I had already read. I have more chapters to put up there, but you can start listening to that one if you missed us reading that one last year. You're more than welcome to. And then I've already told them it's a running joke by now. Oh no, poor Hood. Poor Hood. That's so funny. Hood's a great guy. You guys should check out Hoodlum Up, by the way. He can read the words just fine, but he doesn't sound very natural or conversational when he reads aloud. Oh. I mean, I read with him the other day when we were doing... we were reading Pride and Prejudice, which we're going to continue with Catherine Naomi. So have a blessed rest of your day, Rico. You too, Kat. Thanks for Kitty. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Again, everybody say goodbye to YouTube. Thanks for hanging out, everybody over there. And I will talk to you guys later. Goodbye, YouTube. Goodbye. Farewell, brother.